CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning. It's 6 o'clock on Monday, August 24th, 13 degrees right now. Some sunshine on the way for the day. We'll get you a full forecast in just a moment. Right now, the news begins, and we say good morning to Lisa Best.
Good morning. And, of course, tariffs are our top story this morning. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is calling on the Prime Minister to reconvene Parliament to get details on the proposed U.S. trade deal that he rejected.
In a letter to Mark Carney on Sunday, Poilievre says it's time for the Prime Minister to release the text of the deal because, quote, Canadians must see it to judge what options are on the table. He also says Canadians need to know how much Carney's trade and economic policies will cost them in higher groceries, gas, and other prices. Now, Carney suspended trade talks with the United States on Friday after accusing the Trump administration of introducing measures that included restrictions on Canada's ability to do deals with other countries. In return, the Prime Minister has promised retaliatory tariffs in response to the new U.S. ones that will go into effect on September 8th. Poilievre also added in his letter that Parliament's duty is to hold government accountable and that job has never been more pressing. David Augustine, The Canadian Press.
We're going to unpack this morning for you. At 6:20, CFIB VP of Legislative Affairs, Ryan Mallow, will be on to talk about the impact these tariffs are going to have on you personally. And at 8:50, we'll talk to retired diplomat Jeremy Kinsman on the U.S.'s 11th hour additions that ended negotiations for our side, including trading partner restrictions. Premier David Eby, of course, having a lot to say about this, backing sentiments made by the Prime Minister saying Canada has been attacked by the U.S. amid breakdown of trade talks. While speaking with reporters on the weekend, Eby also confirmed the U.S. liquor will not be back on our shelves anytime soon.
My message to the Prime Minister and to the American ambassador and to American politicians who have asked has always been the same. That once forest families who work in the forest sector in British Columbia are treated fairly, that we would be happy to put American booze back on the shelves. Obviously, that is not the case. And as long as this economic attack continues on our softwood sector, as long as it continues on our economy here in British Columbia, the booze will not be going back on the shelves. It's not a complicated message. It's a straightforward message.
Canada set September 8th as the start date for retaliatory penalties from our side, following the U.S.'s present decision to slap Canada with 50% tariffs on about $28 billion worth of Canadian goods, small and large. Stateside, the trade war is escalating, of course, for small business. ABC News senior political correspondent Rachel Scott has details from Washington.
Canada will impose a 50% tariff on U.S. goods, everything from steel and dairy and clothes to plywood, alcohol, and electronics.
We're a small family-owned business.
Michael Howard owns a custom furniture shop in Warren, Michigan.
We just can't absorb that impact of cost, so we have to pass it down to our customers and essentially give them the decision like, are you okay with moving forward on this project with this dramatically increased cost of lumber?
The trade war only adding to the economic uncertainty.
From political fires to the real ones now in this province, and we've had a massive jump, up 60 from Friday. We're at 184 wildfires. Friday afternoon, we're at 124. 64 of those are considered out of control this hour. 63 new starts in the last 24 hours, most of those lightning strikes. We have about 30 fires burning on Vancouver Island, including 6 considered out of control at this point. There were more than 7,000 lightning strikes across the province over a 24-hour period, Saturday into Sunday, sparking, of course, a lot new fires for crews to deal with. The BC Wildfire Service says that crews were prepared for the weather, managed to put it out or on hold about 60% of the roughly 50 new fires. Rainy weather helped keep them from getting too large too fast, but the service says the reprieve is going to be short-lived with hot, dry conditions on the way this week, especially locally. It says the concern about holdover fires that go unnoticed and changes in the weather causes visible smoke to detail where they are. Meantime, the Federal Housing Advocate warns in a new report that wildfire season in this country has become so bad that housing displacement is becoming a regular fact of life for many First Nations. Last year saw the second worst wildfire season on record, with more than 130 First Nations affected and tens of thousands of people forced out of their communities.
Marie-Josée Houle says a lack of coordinated emergency management supports and a severe housing gap have left First Nations trapped in a spiraling cycle during wildfire seasons. She recommends developing a national emergency management strategy to coordinate between First Nations communities and federal and provincial governments.
First Nations living on reserve are more than 10 times more vulnerable to fire-related deaths than non-Indigenous people. And in entertainment news, an unsung star of Motown has passed.
A receptionist for Motown did more than take notes. She wrote them.
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees. I need that's what I want.
Janie Bradford joined Motown in 1958, wrote songs with Berry Gordy, including this one, Money, That's What I Want. 1959 hit for Barrett Strong. Would be one of the Beatles' big hits, too. Her passing announced over the weekend by her family. She died in L.A. at the age of 87. Wayne Cabot, ABC News.
That's your news to 6:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning, we're asking, have you traveled to the U.S. this summer? 89% say no, 11% say yes. You can vote at CFAX1070.com, also the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news time, 6:07.
Thanks, Lisa, and good morning. Welcome to Monday Sunrise, officially at 6:19 for Victoria this morning. Starting to get that dawn glow out there. It's going to be sunny today. Right now, 13 degrees, and we got a full forecast for you in just a moment. Let's talk sports, though, first off, and to the lacrosse, where at the Minto Cup, it did not go Victoria's way. The Junior A Victoria Shamrocks losing the Minto Cup in the best-of-7 series with 1 win, 2 losses out of that best-of-3. Calgary Raiders winning the series 2-1 after yesterday. They clinched the final game 9-6 over the Victoria Junior A Shamrocks. But way to go to the kids of the Junior A Shamrocks for taking it all the way to the end. At the WLA final, though, Senior Shamrocks forced to Game 6 with an 8-4 win over the Coquitlam Adnax last night at the Q Center. Coquitlam still leads the best-of-7, 3-2. Toronto Blue Jays with the day off before opening a 3-game series tomorrow against the visiting Kansas City Royals, followed by a 3-game visit from the Seattle Mariners on Friday. The Royals have won 8 in a row. The 64-68 Blue Jays are 1.5 games behind the Cleveland Guardians and the Texas Rangers, who share the third and final American League wildcard berth. BC Lions started the CFL season with 1 win in their first 6 games, and they haven't lost since. The Lions scored 14 unanswered points in the third quarter yesterday to beat the visiting Saskatchewan Roughriders 30-16. The Lions improved to 5-5 in the West Division and are only 2 points back at the second-place Roughriders, who have lost 2 in a row and slipped to 6-4. And kind of cool that in Vancouver they had a visit from the Toronto Tempo, who, by the way, couldn't deal with the Las Vegas Aces yesterday. Aja Wilson scored a game-high 27 points and added 7 rebounds and 7 assists as the Aces powered past the Tempo 88-78 in the WNBA play at Rogers Arena in Vancouver, as they've been taking their games on the road. They will meet again Friday in Sin City for the road trip continuing. That's your CFAX 1070 Sports at 6:09. Good morning. Taking a look at CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. The roads are looking pretty easygoing for this early morning hour. If you see a crash or other problem, let us know at 7:10:10. So let's look to BC Ferries, 7 o'clock sailing coming up next. It's 80% full, lots of space left, no sailing waits right now. And in the weather forecast, it's a sunny day today with a little breeze off the water, highs of 24, a humidex of 27. It sounds very much kind of like the days we were having last week, right up before we had the showers and the thunder strikes over the weekend. We'll talk about that more in just a second. Looking ahead, though, let's talk tonight. Clear skies, lows of 14. Tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud. We'll see a humidex of 29, so feeling quite warm tomorrow in that humidity. We'll see a chance of showers coming with that humidity briefly overnight Tuesday, but then clearing up during the day on Wednesday. So it's just this little blip there. I don't know if it'll amount to much, but yeah, some humidity and a chance of showers Tuesday night. Otherwise, the rest of the week is all looking fairly similar. Just, temperatures into the low 20s. Sunshine with the exception of that cloudy period Tuesday into a bit of Wednesday. Right now for the temperatures around the region, what are we seeing? It's in Langford, 13 degrees right now. In Oak Bay along the water, it's 12 degrees. Opening bell for North American stock markets ringing later this hour. So while we await today's results, let's look at how things closed off last week with Rob Westgate.
Before the trade talks with the U.S. broke down last Friday, Bay Street posted a decent gain. Toronto's S&P TSX added 255 points to close at 36,620. In New York, the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 518 points, while the Nasdaq rose 113. Asian markets looking very much in the red this morning, with Japan's Nikkei finishing down 488 points. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong was down as well, dropping 492. Federal Tory leader Pierre Poilievre is calling for Prime Minister Mark Carney to recall Parliament and update MPs on the details of the proposed U.S. trade deal that he rejected. Small business owners like jewelry maker Cindy Baldassi are bracing for the impact of the trade war, noting that most of their products get shipped stateside. And WestJet flight attendants are wrapping up a week-long vote this afternoon on whether to accept a new contract deal. As for the loonie, it's trading at 72.23 cents U.S. From the Canadian Press Business Desk, I'm Rob Westgate.
In the kitchen, in the car, and at the office. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Take us with you. Listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Good morning. Welcome to Monday. We got Lisa on the news desk. I'm Ryan. So glad you could join us. Lisa, how you doing?
I'm good. Just letting the dust settle.
Well, there's so many reasons why we're thinking that. I mean, obviously, there's the little dust up between Canada and the U.S. with trade negotiations, which we are going to be covering in depth over the course of the show. We got a guest coming up in just a few minutes to talk about that. And then there was the other thing stirring up the pot, and that had nothing to do with the United States. That had everything to do with the weather. Did you see the lightning
Sure did.
on the weekend? That was wild.
I think most of us did. I don't think it was kind of hard to ignore.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to be sleeping at that point I didn't hear a lot of thunder though, but I certainly saw the lightning. Did you hear thunder?
I heard some dull rumbles. So for me, I was in Sydney that night. So that's a little closer to the action because a lot of these lightning strikes were kind of occurring to the north. So I was a little bit closer to it, but still it looked fairly far off. I mean, I know Vancouver and the area got hit pretty hard. So that's sort of when you look north from Sydney, which is the way the window that I was looking at was facing.
Right.
We were kind of getting a good view of it. And just the fact that the window just was flashing over and over again. It was just
it was strange.
Rapid fire.
That's it. It was very strange. Very, very pretty, but quite ominous too, because we know what that meant.
Yeah.
And we ended up having about 7,000 lightning strikes in that series of storms that went through. So crews were busy.
Yeah, and BC Wildfire Service says they were prepared for the weather. They knew it was coming. They managed to put out or on hold about 60% of the about 50 new fires or so, or at least that was at yesterday's count.
Right.
Who knows what's going on now. But so they had a good showing, but still, that was one thing we were all thinking in the house. We were sitting, again, in this house in Sydney looking north and thinking, there's no rain right now, but there's all this lightning. That can't be good for the wildfires. So we'll see how that goes. But what's going on the island, though? Because I know a lot of that was mainland focused. What happened here?
Regarding fires?
Yeah.
Well, the BC Wildfire Service says we have about 6 that are currently out of control. What's new is we do have one just outside of, I'm just looking where it is on the map right now, sort of just north of North Cowichan, if that makes sense, north of Cowichan Valley Highway. But we have a couple along that route as well, closer to Port Renfrew. And they're very close to the highway. So sort of watching that develop, of course, both in wilderness areas, not right directly on the highway on Pacific Marine Road. So whether crews can access that, because it looks like, again, it's along waterways or along the side of low mountains, what we have, in general of wilderness, kind of difficult to get to. And up island, we have a couple too. We have a couple out, but we have about 30 in total on the island, whether they're being held under control or out of control. Nothing directly threatening communities. We do have one that's just sort of northwest of Nanaimo, keeping a watch just near Jingle Pot Road, and then one that's being held or under control actually just north of Campbell River. But still, overall, when you look at the map looks like it has measles, and you think about all the crews that have to be employed to get on these fires so they don't get any further. This is tough work, because that's just us. The mainland is its own animal.
Yeah. And a lot to deal with after all those lightning strikes over the weekend.
Exactly.
Did you see it all? What did it look like for you where you were? Right now, 6:17. Let's get to the headlines with Lisa.
Vancouver Island University's Nanaimo campus is set to become Loaves and Fishes Community Food Bank's 12th free food market location this week. Residents can access the service every Monday from 5 to 7 in the Windsor Plywood Trades Discovery Building. Loaves and Fishes operates 13 free food markets per week across the city, bringing food directly to where people live. The free food market model is central to Loaves and Fishes' approach for food security. Anyone can access the market once they register. Free parking is available in Lot U from 4 to 7 if you're thinking of going. A local market in Summerland, BC, brought together businesses still recovering from the wildfire. Caused the evacuation of some 20,000 residents and destroyed about 150 structures. Sunday's market, hosted by the Rotary Club of Summerland, was the first in 3 weeks and the first time any had gathered since the fire. Market Director Dave McRae says the event brought the community together as people reconnected and came out to support the local vendors. McRae says it felt like the event felt like a first normal Sunday they've had since the fires began, and the Summerland residents are ready to get back to normal. And police say a man is dead after drowning in Alberdett Park in Abbotsford on Saturday. Abbotsford police say officers responded to reports of a person submerged in the water of the park shortly before 5. Bystanders pulled the 30-year-old man from the water, started CPR, but it didn't work. Police say the drowning was a tragic accident, and the victim services are also helping those affected, especially those on the scene. Very tragic to see that. And that is your news to 6:18.
CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Right now through August 26th, receive 1,000 Scene Plus points for every $200 Smile card you purchase at Thrifty Foods. Coming up next, let's get into the trade situation between Canada and the U.S. I don't know where you were. I was lying in bed, I think, on Friday night when we started to see all these statements from the Prime Minister.
Did you have the covers over your head? Were you huddling in a fetal position?
Oddly enough, me being the news guy, it was my wife who saw it first, because we'd been entertaining family and doing other things. We were focused elsewhere, and then we get into bed, and my wife opens up her phone just to sort of check things before we go to sleep, and then she's like, "Oh no." And she reads out this statement from the Prime Minister about how things had fallen apart. And you get the sense from that initial statement that the Americans had tried to, pull a fast one with changing the deal right at the last minute. And it just sort of poisoned the whole thing. Over the course of the weekend, of course, we've been learning a few more details about what some of those kind of deal breakers were that the Americans were
kind of shocking, actually,
tossing in. Yeah. And we'll get into all of that over the course of the show. But the first opinion on this we want to get to is from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Of course, we're all wondering what this will mean, not just for us as individuals, but for Canadian businesses, which will now not just have the U.S. putting tariffs on certain goods. Canada is firing back with retaliatory tariffs. Unpacking it from a business perspective next. CFAX Morning Show brought to you by CUPE, Vancouver Island, working to deliver the public services island communities rely on. CUPE, better services, better communities. Taking a look at traffic and weather, the roads are clear right now. The BC Ferries, no sailing wait, so that's busy. 85% for the 7 o'clock sailing from Swartz Bay to Tsawwassen. And the weather forecast is sunny today. Maybe a little foggy this morning. We've been seeing that a bit some mornings off the coast, but it should be clearing up and getting sunny today. Highs of 24, humidex of 27, so still got that humidity in the air. Clear skies tonight, lows to 14. Tomorrow we start sunny, but a humidex of 29, so even more heat and humidity tomorrow, leading into a chance of showers Tuesday night into Wednesday. Short-lived, clears up, gets mostly sunny again for Wednesday, although there'll be some cloudy periods here and there as well. As we peer into the forecast ahead, the temperature at the airport, the official Victoria temperature, 13 degrees right now.
Ryan and Lisa. Mornings on CFAX 1070. Remember, you have us in the palm of your hand. For listeners on the go, listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Canada will match Washington's new tariffs dollar for dollar in order to protect Canadian workers, farmers, families, and businesses. Our response will be concentrated in sectors such as steel, dairy, appliances, agricultural equipment, pulp and paper, and electronics. We'll also include products that are currently subject to unjustified Section 232 and 338 tariffs.
That's the voice of Prime Minister Mark Carney speaking right after we learned of the collapse of talks between Canada and the U.S. And when we learned of the new set of tariffs that Canada would fire back against the United States after their 50% tariffs on certain goods would kick in. Let's unpack this and what the business community is thinking in reaction to all of that we were learning. Ryan Mallow is with the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. He's the Vice President of Legislative Affairs. Joining us on the line. Sir, how you doing?
I am good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, although like many Canadians, just sort of reeling from the news over the weekend. And I know I spent a lot of time reading through articles trying to figure out the details of what happened and, you know, what were the bits of the deal that kind of went awry. And anyways, all of that. But I guess you're doing much the same, and you've got obviously a job representing Canadian businesses. Hearing all those things that we just heard from the Prime Minister there, what are your thoughts on this?
So I think, last week we were talking a lot about uncertainty, will they or won't they? And then you see the can kick down the road midweek. I think like a lot of Canadians, I went to bed on Friday thinking that, we'd have some kind of deal to assess on Saturday. And then another surprise and some more uncertainty. So I think now, dealing with what we know that Canadian exporters are about to take a pretty significant hit. We know about 40% of our membership has products that are on the U.S. tariff list. A third of those expect their revenues will drop by 50% or more. And now on the flip side of it, we're waiting for details on what Canadian counter tariffs look like, because there are a lot more importers than exporters amongst our membership. And last time we went through this, they were hit pretty hard.
Yeah. What hurts more, the American tariffs or the Canadian retaliation, if you're a Canadian business?
So I think amongst our membership, it really depends on how much importing and exporting you're doing. We know that Canadian retaliation tends to hit broader. When we were asking back in, the 2025, when this all kicked off, it was the Canadian counter tariffs that had the most impact on our membership. At the same time, if you're, an antique dealer in BC and most of your clients are, in Seattle, you're staring down the barrel of something very tough right now. So it'll vary business by business, but the whole package spells not good, and we are eagerly awaiting now to see federally what sort of support is going to come with this that the government has promised.
And the other part of that question is, what hurts more, the Canadian tariffs or the U.S. ones and all that. But the other part of the question is, I still seem to see fairly broad support for what the Prime Minister and the Canadian government is doing here, rather than signing a bad deal, standing up for ourselves and trying to fight back against what seems to be quite unfair treatment from the Americans, if I do say so myself. That's just my opinion. I'm sure some others share it. But I mean, even though it's going to be a rough ride for some of that business community, do they broadly support what the government is doing, or do you have a sense of that mood?
So I think our members were always very clear that as much as they very much want a deal, they want to put this behind them, they want some stability and certainty that we haven't seen for a long time now. It was always about getting the right deal, not just any deal. And I think that our members would be very supportive of walking away from a bad deal. I think there are still some details that need to come out in terms of exactly what happened there on Friday night. But certainly it was not get any deal, it was get the right deal. At the same time, businesses' ability to weather storms has eroded, not just over the last 18 months, but it's kind of been hopping from crisis to crisis over the last 6 years. And so, the pressure that would be there in the best of times is very much heightened in what is not best of times. And so that's what we'll be watching for closely, and why we are looking to the government to provide some supports as we continue to push through this, hopefully in pursuit of ultimately a good deal where we can move on and get back to business.
Ryan, you mentioned about small business on this side of the border, having a moment thinking, I ship a lot to the U.S. We're hearing a lot, too, in the news of U.S. companies, small U.S. companies feeling the same with shipping to Canada and having issues with that, thinking that they don't want to pay that extra money, of course, and they'll be saddled with it. So is there a disconnect between government and what business really needs?
So I don't know if it's a full disconnect, but I think it is very, illustrative that this does have impacts on both sides of the border. And again, amongst our membership, much more, it's closer to 50% on the importing side versus around 25 to 30 on the exporting side. So if you're bringing products into the States, those Canadian counter tariffs come in, your prices are going up. Businesses will try to absorb that, but again, the ability to do that has really eroded. And so ultimately it comes back on to the consumer. And I will say too, we've been tracking for better part of 3 years now, a lack of consumer demand has put a lot of pressure on businesses. This absolutely won't help.
Now, last question for you, then we got to let you go. But given all this, do we have a sense of, if you're a regular old Canadian consumer and you're wondering what is going to get more expensive now, whichever tariff we're talking about, whatever part of this thing you're talking about, just the brass tacks of what is going to cost me more, do we have a rough sense of which products are going to be affected the most?
So we don't know yet. We do know that there's going to be we expect a list to come out at some point this week. Canadian counter tariffs will come into effect, I believe the Prime Minister said September 8th. We know from having gone through this before that, likely targets are things like Florida orange juice, Harley-Davidson motorcycles. For those provinces that still do have U.S. booze on the shelf, Kentucky bourbon was often a target, but that is going to be something we are watching for closely because it's dollar for dollar, but the broader it is, the more products it impacts, the more ultimately expensive things are going to be for both businesses and consumers, and that we are trying to, avoid the best we can.
He's the Canadian Federation of Independent Business Vice President of Legislative Affairs, Ryan Mallow. Great to talk to you. Thank you for weighing in, and good luck as we, hopefully eventually get through all of this, but it's a rough ride for business for sure here in Canada, and thank you for shedding some light on it.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Quick break, 6:30 News next.
CFAX, Santa's Anonymous.
Hey, grown-ups, the ones still kids at heart.
Through the Kids Count Children's Grant Program powered by CFAX Santa's Anonymous, local kids are getting help with summer camp fees, food security, and mental wellness support.
Where do you see kids needing the most support?
Access to healthy, fresh food through the summer.
Visit CFAXSantas.com right now and give directly to the cause that matters most to you.
Kids Count.
Powered by CFAX Santa's Anonymous.
To find out how you can help, visit CFAXSantas.com. CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, 6:32 on Monday, August the 24th. The sun is rising. It's going to be a sunny day, and we'll get you a full forecast in just a moment. First, though, the news begins, and we say good morning to Lisa Best.
We do have mild smoke across the region that will intensify tomorrow morning before dissipating again. The BC Wildfire Service says there's 184 wildfires burning coming out of the weekend. We had 124 going in. 64 of those fires are out of control. 63 new starts in the last day. About 30 fires burning on Vancouver Island, including 6 that are considered out of control. These are all new, mostly lightning strikes. There were more than 7,000 strikes across BC during that storm on the weekend, just in a 24-hour period. Now, the BC Wildfire Service says crews were prepared for the weather. They managed to put on hold or put out about 60% of the 50 new starts, but of course, they can't be everywhere at once. Rainy weather has helped keep the fires from getting too large, but the service says the reprieve will be short-lived with hot, dry conditions on the way this week. It says it's concerned about holdover fires, which go unnoticed until changes in the weather cause visible smoke and the flames rise up again. Stateside in Nevada, more than 40,000 people have been forced to leave their homes, which are threatened by an out-of-control brush fire there.
Strong shifting winds and dry conditions fueling the Hawk Fire, destroying homes and burning more than 15,000 acres.
To a lot of people around here, this is their entire livelihood. This is their entire life they built for years and years, and we've never seen a fire like this.
Nevada's governor declaring an emergency in Washoe County, deploying the National Guard. Firefighters battling nearly 90-degree heat as they try to get a handle on the flames. Still 0% contained overnight.
To the political fire now, as we start the new week. I'm going to talk about the story that dominated the weekend. We all know about the Canada-U.S. trade talks falling apart. The details, the devil in it, is still to come. The Prime Minister announcing he was responding in kind to matching wide-ranging 50% tariffs, dollar for dollar.
President Trump is the type of person that would steal your lunch money the first day. He'd steal the toque off your head the second day, and the third day he'd steal your running shoes. He is not to be trusted whatsoever. We need to stay united.
That is, of course, Ontario Premier Doug Ford with no filter. Elsewhere, federal Conservatives are now calling on the government to release the full offer that was rejected so Canadians can judge what options had actually been on the table. CTV's Jeremy Sharon has some of the latest reaction to the collapse of the deal late Friday, including some of the first public comments from Donald Trump.
Canada wants the benefits of being a state without being one, the president said on social media. They have also charged our great farmers for many years massive amounts of tariffs, no more.
To think that they're going to go to war with Donald Trump and actually win that war with the U.S., I think it's foolish on their part.
The U.S.'s fight with Canada over trade getting major play on American network TV.
As trade talks with Canada fall apart.
It's Canada versus the United States.
With the president facing pushback already at home.
I think the last thing we need right now is a trade war with Canada.
In the midst of the economic uncertainty regarding this failed trade deal, there's also worry that gas prices are going to climb again. CTV's Michael Sharapio has more than growing calls from the federal government's gas tax cut to be extended past September 8th.
This is like 130.
I wish it wouldn't be as high.
It's why the Canadian Taxpayers Federation is calling on Ottawa to make the temporary cuts permanent, pointing out, according to StatsCan, gas prices have gone up 25.7% since last summer.
It hurts. It means I have to sacrifice other things.
The Federation says restoring 10 cents a litre on gas and 4 cents per litre on diesel would mean, on average, an extra $6 to fill up a sedan, $7 for a minivan, and $10 for a truck.
As of this morning, according to GasBuddy.com, our local gas prices for a regular litre hovering anywhere from $2.09 to $2.10 a litre. And that is your news to 6:36. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question. We're asking, have you traveled to the U.S. this summer? 89% say no. You can vote at CFAX1070.com. Also, the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news time, 6:38.
Thanks, Lisa. Well, no more lightning in our forecast. It's just a sunny day today.
It's kind of hazy, though.
Little haze, little humidity. We'll see the odd bit of cloud here and there. We do have a chance of showers coming back Tuesday night, kind of overnight, but at the moment, no thunder or lightning mentioned with that.
Good.
And I have one texter here at 71010 because we were talking about where were you when you saw the lightning on Saturday. This texter says, we also live in Sydney, which is where I was when we saw it coming down. So naturally, I did what any good Ontario person would do. I threw on my house coat, grabbed a glass of wine, ran outside and pulled out the lawn chair, and I sat out on the front lawn and watched the storm. That's
Depends
amazing.
Because I want to know where you're from in Ontario, because I tried that once in Gatineau and a supercell went through.
Oh.
And it was a mini tornado. I'm like, that was probably a bad idea afterwards, but it was pretty exciting because we lived through it.
Yeah.
So tell me where in Ontario.
I love it. Texter. We were in Sydney too, although we just sat at the big front window.
Nice.
We didn't go outside, but now I kind of wish we did because it was quite the show.
You actually feel it in the air.
Yeah. Sad about the lightning caused wildfires,
That's
but it was quite the show. That's for sure.
Yeah.
CFAX 1070 Sports now at the Minto Cup, the Victoria Junior A Shamrocks. They got all the way to the end, but in the end, it's the Calgary Raiders that will be the 2026 Minto Cup champions, defeating the Victoria Junior A Shamrocks last night in Game 3 with a score of 9-6. And with that, the Raiders win the series 2-1. But congrats to the Victoria Junior A Shamrocks kids for making it all the way to the very end. And in the WLA final, the Victoria Shamrocks are clinging on. They forced a Game 6 with an 8-4 win over the Coquitlam Adnacks last night at the Q Center, so in front of a home crowd. A dramatic, staving off of elimination. Coquitlam still leads, I should say, the best of 7 series, 3-2. So Game 6 coming up will be pivotal for the Shamrocks' survival. BC Lions were in action yesterday. Still haven't lost a game since those, first 6 games that they were not doing so well. But ever since the beginning of that season, the Lions have continued to be a powerhouse, and they scored 14 unanswered points in the third quarter yesterday to beat the visiting Saskatchewan Roughriders 30-16. And the 0-10 Ottawa Red Blacks are going to host the surging BC Lions this coming Sunday, but the Red Blacks will do so without their vice president of football operations. The struggling Red Blacks fired Sean Burke yesterday, 6 days after team president Adrian Shura stepped down. The CFL team made the playoffs just once under Burke, who joined the team in 2021 as general manager. That's your sports to 641.
Whether it's siding, gutters, or decking, ProTech Exterior Products has it all. Visit beahomepro.com to find out more.
CFAX traffic and weather. What's going on the roads? Well, not a lot at the moment. It is fairly clear for the morning commute. West Shore commute looking pretty light. A bit of volume delay on the Trans-Canada Highway as folks slow down through the construction zone, but otherwise it's looking fairly typical. No sailing waits at BC Ferries. And in the weather forecast, it's sunny. A little fog out there at certain places along the coast, but otherwise a sunny day. Highs of 24, humidex of 27 expected. Clear skies tonight, lows to 14. And right now, here are the temperatures we're seeing around the region. Brentwood Bay, you're looking at 13 degrees right now. Saanich by the University of Victoria, it's also 13 degrees. Open opening bells just ringing for North American stock markets. No results as of yet. It'll be very curious to see how markets on both sides of the border respond, because we haven't seen any of the North American stock market trading since the trade talks collapsed between Canada and the U.S. Before all that went down, things were up. I mean, the S&P TSX closed last week up 254 points on the Friday to 36,620. The Dow was up 517 points to 53,277. Canadian dollar and overseas trading has been down just a slight tick to 72.3 cents U.S.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Oversleepers, catch all the highlights on the latest audio podcast at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
The text machine at 71010 lighting up as it always does. Thank you so much. We love it when you join the conversation. This texter says...
See what you did there.
Yeah.
Lighting up.
lighting up like the lightning. Yeah, people have been talking about where they saw the lightning from. Where did you see it from, Lisa?
I went, I like my good Ontario friend, because I was recently from Ottawa anyways. I went up to Gonzales Hill.
Oh!
I'm kind of embarrassed to say I'd never been up there before.
Wow, okay.
And
it's a bit hidden, so I get you why you wouldn't.
Well, that's true, because I was actually... So I took myself out for a glass of wine, and then I drove back. I was driving back on Fairfield Road.
And you were looking up at this hill?
And I saw this sign.
Yeah?
Gonzales Hill. I'm like, I've heard all about this. Never actually went up. So I drove up. I didn't walk because I didn't know where I was going. And it was dusk. And, of course, Saturday night dusk was really wild weather. It was super windy up there, and the clouds are moving really fast. And, of course, the storm was building in the distance. And I kept taking photos because it looked like it should be artwork. It was just stunning. But very windy, and it was almost like sheet lightning at times. It was so dramatic. And, of course, all I'm thinking is fire, another fire. But it was wild. It was you could feel the energy in the air, and I was the only one up there, so it was pretty wild. And I could hear music coming from somewhere. It could have been Beacon Hill Park. But it was just right across the bay, outstanding vista. And if you've never been, which you probably have because I just found this, I've heard all about it. People go up there for the sunrise and the sunset. Phenomenal place. Well, you know this. You like it.
Oddly enough, funny, that particular hill, Gonzales Hill, it's where I proposed to my wife.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how nice is that? Now, was it a windy, crazy day or was it a nice day?
No, it was middle of July, I think.
Pleasant.
Which is... very decent weather usually, but then again, it's August right now, and I guess it was a wild storm. No, there was no storm that night.
Okay. She said yes, obviously.
Yeah, it's a very romantic place. You go up to there's that little lookout tower. You can kind of walk up the hill, sort of near the observatory, the old observatory there.
Okay.
And so on that little lookout tower, many years ago now.
I wonder how many proposals have been done at that place.
It's a very fitting place for it.
Very.
Isn't it? Yeah.
How did you choose that? Do you remember?
No, I don't mean to go off on a tangent here, but
I'm curious.
I'm
curious.
I've always had this draw to that particular neighborhood. I remember being a child, and I was at one of my brother's soccer games, and I was bored, so I just went for a walk, and the soccer game was somewhere in that neighborhood. And I remember just walking around as a kid, and I stumbled on the water, and I was looking up at that observatory, all the houses on the coast. I just remember, because I grew up in Sydney, and this was the first time I would have really recognized that neighborhood existing, and I just became obsessed with it. I was like, this place is so cool. What is this place?
Interesting.
So I remember coming back as a teenager, and I had a friend from Oak Bay, I think. I'm trying to remember how this all went. But anyways, this friend showed me, this is how you get up the hill and how you get to the observatory. And then it was just when we were teenagers, it was a thing to do, because what else do you do as teenagers? We would drive around sometimes like, well, where should we go? Well, let's go park up the hill and go look at the view. So I'd been going back there ever since I was a child, just kind of really interested in that spot and that lookout. And so obviously I'd taken my wife there while we were dating, just because I was so into that, lookout.
Yeah, you wanted to show it to her.
Good place to take a date, you know?
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
So given that connection, it sort of ended up being also the place where I proposed.
That's so nice. Now, here's my question. Another question regarding the hill, which I've just found. Is there two ways up? Can you hike it up from both sides?
There are pathways up, like neighborhood walkways and whatnot you can find. So, which I happen to know because I was, again, a little obsessed with it at one point in time. So there are paths up you can find, for sure.
Okay.
As well as the road and the little parking lot by the observatory, the old observatory.
Gem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the observatory is not open anymore.
But you know what it does? It's still keeping weather records.
Well, I know because we have that, which I thought was interesting. It's not in use, but it is in use.
Yeah, because the Victoria International Airport became the place that the official records were kept. But since the original records were being kept at that observatory, they kept doing it just so they could have the continuity.
That's super cool.
So they could go all the way back to whatever, the 1800s or whatever it is that they've been doing weather readings there.
Well, they said there was no road up there at the time when they built it, so they actually had to haul everything up the hill by hand.
Yeah.
And it's a big building.
Yeah, totally. But if you look at Environment Canada stats, if you click on Victoria, you're getting the airport. But if you dive a little deeper into, if you're on the website for Environment Canada, you can switch it to be Victoria Gonzales, and then you get a whole different set of readouts.
Well, I could certainly measure the wind up there.
Yeah.
Because it was a bit of a maelstrom up there, but it was gorgeous. I highly recommend it, even if you're not getting married or proposing.
Maybe you're just watching the lightning storm.
I was just enjoying it all.
At 6:48, let's get to the headlines with Lisa.
Let's talk more about that weather. That intense overnight storm resulted in a long night for some passengers across the pond at Vancouver International. Some were left stranded on the tarmac into the early morning as lightning prevented ground crews from helping planes actually reach their gates. Kenneth Ermter says his plane sat on the tarmac for more than 6 hours. They weren't allowed because crew members couldn't move it. And even after the lightning stopped, the airport says flights could not depart for more than 4 hours due to that storm, and additional staff had to be called in over the weekend. Usually it's winter that shuts us down, but here we are with lightning strikes. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says the unraveling of U.S. trade talks means the Prime Minister should reconvene Parliament. Poilievre says he wants details on the proposed U.S. trade deal Carney rejected, and answers on how Canadians will be affected by his plans to hit back on September 8th. Carney, of course, suspending trade talks in the 11th hour on Friday, accusing the Trump administration of introducing unacceptable measures last minute. He says those included restrictions on our ability to sign deals with other countries and last-minute demands to restrict our language and cultural protections. TikTok is agreeing to pay $400 million to settle a U.S. government lawsuit. The suit alleges the company violated the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. The law requires websites and online services directed at children to obtain parental consent before collecting personal information from users who are under the tender age of 13. And that is your news to 650.
Texture at 71010, speaking on where were you when you were watching the storm on Saturday. Texture says, I sat on my front patio in Sydney while looking at the storm. I took short video and sent them to family in Calgary. And then this texture at 71010 says, good morning, Ryan and Lisa. I was texting back and forth to a friend on Salt Spring during that storm. They had lightning strikes all around them, plus there was an intense downpour. Yeah, again, if you were looking north, it seemed like the further north you went, including Salt Spring, I guess, you were getting it way more. They say that near Prospect Lake, I was just sitting outside of my lounge chair with a glass of wine watching the lights in the sky.
Okay.
Yeah, very different depending on where you were on Saturday. Well, hey, keep letting us know at 71010. But we got a whole different topic coming up. The Victoria Foundation tells us that the capital city here will be hosting the Victoria Forum this week. What is the Victoria Forum? Well, this year's theme is focused on truth, justice, and well-being. It's an event that draws groups from all over the world, including a community foundation in Australia, who we're going to be talking to next about why they're coming to Victoria and what this is all about.
Where the noise stops and the conversation begins.
Hey, it's Friday. Welcome to the Graham Richardson Show.
The stories that shaped your week aren't just headlines. They are the moments we live through and the decisions that change what comes next.
Let's take a closer look at that together.
It's national conversations. From major policy shifts to the fun, unexpected trends and friends everyone will be talking about. It is intelligent, unpredictable, and completely Canadian. Stay informed. Stay ahead. The Graham Richardson Show. Friday morning at 9 a.m. right here on CFAX 1070.
CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Thrift Foods. Right now, through August 26th, receive 1,000 Scene Plus points for every $200 Smile card you purchase at Thrifty Foods. Taking a look at traffic and weather, the roads are clear, no waits at BC Ferries, and the weather's looking up today after, wild weather on the weekend. At times, it's just sunny for today, a little morning fog. Highs of 24, a humidex of 27, and it's 13 degrees right now at the airport.
Ryan and Lisa are ready when you are.
Good morning.
Day or night, find the highlights under latest audio at cfax1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
Yeah, the Victoria Foundation hosting a forum for people all over the world coming in to talk about issues facing communities like ours. Their theme this year is on truth, justice, and well-being. And somebody here to talk about it is from Australia. Joining us from this group, Hands Across Canberra, that's part of the Australian delegation attending the Victoria Forum. I've got Genevieve Jacobs, their CEO, on the line. Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, and how lovely to talk to you on this beautiful BC morning.
Are you here in Victoria right now?
I am indeed, yeah. I'm sitting downtown, the sun is shining, and I'm ready to get going with this forum and get engaged.
Love it. Is this your first time here?
It is my first time in Canada, but it's very similar to being at home in Australia. It's just so welcoming, and our institutions are the same. I think our ways of thinking are the same, so it's quite fascinating to observe that.
Oh, that's really cool to hear from your perspective. And I guess that's one of the reasons why this is an interesting forum to have, because even though you're on the other side of the world and there's, countries all over the world with, different geography and all that, but a lot of the issues we all face are kind of the same, I guess, eh?
Well, indeed. So we've got about 10 of us in the group. There are 5 of us from Community Foundation World, 5 Indigenous leaders. So we've had some really powerful ceremonies. We had a wonderful welcome from Chief Thomas of the Lekwungen speaking peoples. We've had wonderful conversations so far about the shared issues and the shared history that we have. But yeah, this is about truth and justice and wellbeing. Community foundations in Canberra are well established, very powerful. We're younger, but we depend on a really collaborative way of working together. So I guess we've all got something to learn from each other in the great Australian tradition of the fair go. I don't know if you guys know about what the fair go is.
No, tell me.
Do you know about a sort of? Okay, it's kind of like our national motto, and that is that absolutely everybody, deserves the same chance, the same opportunities, the same way to be uplifted by their communities. None of us are better than anyone else, and that is really a great ground for working on a community foundation, because it builds people, it brings them together. We say, let's see if we can make things fairer and better and build a better community through this community foundation movement. So it's terrific. You work together on major grants. We fund things individually, but it's all about saying, can we make this community as strong as it can possibly be? Because, we all need friends at the moment, don't we?
Yeah. Can foundations like, say, the Victoria Foundation here and, the foundation you're representing in Canberra, are there avenues for you all to work together?
Look, we had Ian Bird, who is currently your CEO of the Victoria Foundation. He's just come back home, was with us for a couple of years in Australia. That was a really interesting kind of cultural exchange. So we certainly learnt a great deal from Ian, and he says that he learnt something from us. That's a good thing, and it was more than just how to eat Vegemite. It was about, that's challenging for everybody. So, in fact, I bought him a jar back on my return here. But yeah, look, seriously thinking, I think that way of collaborating is what we learn. So at home in Australia, for example, when we are giving out our granting, our money to all the different causes that we support, we work together with a whole bunch of private foundations in Canberra, and we fund a whole lot of things that are all about human need together. That's an interesting process for the Canadian foundations, who tend to work individually. But I think we share a great deal more than we have different. Canada and Australia are old friends. And I think that shared history sort of makes it a particularly good thing for us to learn about together.
Last really quick question for you. We're talking to Genevieve Jacobs, CEO of Hands Across Canberra, part of the delegation from Australia attending this Victoria Forum put on the Victoria Foundation to talk about, lifting up individual communities. The theme this time is truth, justice, and well-being. So here in Victoria, here's my last question. A lot of the current issues we are looking at, the social things we're trying to deal with, include issues like drug addiction and mental health, which can go quite together. Health and community safety are big ones. Are those also similar issues that you face in your communities, or is it a different ball game in an area like Canberra? What's the compare and contrast?
So Canberra and Victoria, and indeed British Columbia, are very similar in many ways. We're quite a wealthy community. We don't have super rich people, but housing is a huge thing at home. Housing is really, really difficult. We have, for some reason, decided to monetise our housing market and turn it into an investment vehicle, and that means increasingly people drop off what I call the Canberra cliff. They go crashing to the bottom if something goes wrong in their lives. I certainly see a lot of the same issues. The drug addiction problem is maybe not quite as prominent as home as it is here. We don't have the fentanyl thing. That's not something that's really emerged in Australia or indeed in Canberra. But housing is really, really a huge pressure point, and increasingly, really sadly, because we're a wealthy city, food insecurity, that is just growing in a way that shocks us and astonishes all of us. I think those pressures are very similar. People are shocked that there is that level of need in a city that's prosperous, because we're the national capital of Australia. We've got that parliament up there on the hill and all those fly-in, fly-out workers that come from all over the country, and people are a bit oblivious to the other sort of 400,000 of us down on the flat, as it were. We're looking for interesting ideas about housing. We're looking for interesting ideas about alleviating poverty and need, working with people with disability. A lot of First Nations incarceration too, at a much, much higher rate than the rest of the population. So we need to know why that is. We need to know why those problems emerge. And again, it's a similar and shared history, stolen generations for us rather than residential schools for you guys, but with the same impact, the same trauma that carries on down the generations. So I think those causes for us are not dissimilar to most Australian foundations and a lot of countries that have got a shared colonial experience.
Genevieve Jacobs with the Hands Across Canberra group here in Victoria for this forum. Thank you for talking. It's interesting. You're far away, but sounds like very similar issues, very similar challenges to meet, and thank you for sharing them with us today.
Look, it is my great pleasure. And, the Kiwis, the Poms, all of us, we are friends. I reckon we should get the band back together under current circumstances. I think there's something to be said for that.
I agree. We're looking for some new friends and new trading partners right now, so maybe we should talk. Anyways, thank you.
We are right there with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Okay, we'll let you go. Have a great time in Victoria. So glad to welcome you and anybody else attending this conference, but we got to take a break because it's the 7 o'clock news.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, 7:03 on Monday, August 24th. It's time for the news. Here's Lisa Best.
Word of a power outage in central Saanich affecting about 221 homes and businesses. The power went out just before 6 o'clock, so it's been about an hour now. The area affected is west of Tomlinson Road, south of Mount Newton Cross, north of Selly's Cross, and east of Mill Bay Ferry. BC Hydro crews are investigating the cause of this, so we'll bring you a detail as soon as available. Turbulence in the air may be averted. WestJet flight attendants wrapping up their week-long vote this afternoon on the new tentative deal that they've struck with the airline.
The Canadian Union of Public Employees has said that the tentative agreement includes more than an 18% wage hike over 3 years, as well as new compensation for work done on the ground. The deal followed tough negotiations, particularly around boarding pay, that culminated in a one-day strike by some 4,400 cabin crew earlier this month. WestJet's flight schedule gradually ramped up after more than 900 flights were cancelled at the peak of the summer travel period. John Kennedy, The Canadian Press.
There are questions on whether the failed Canada-U.S. trade deal really marks the end of negotiations between both sides. Over the weekend, the Prime Minister described it as the last-minute amendments that Canada could not stomach that derailed the talks. CTV's Jeremy Sharon has some of the latest developments and fears this trade war could lead to job losses.
Carney has promised retaliatory measures set to be imposed September 8th. Some suggest creating a window of opportunity.
There may be an opportunity in this pause for the American side to regroup and to become a bit more coherent.
Though public polling here prior to the breakdown in talks suggests the Prime Minister has the political capital to keep fighting back.
Going to have to see real change on the American side, a drive and a desire that it's in their self-interest to strike a deal before we get back to the table in any meaningful way.
Stay with CFAX. Retired diplomat Jeremy Kinsman will have the gloves off, talking about the U.S. 11th hour additions that ended our negotiations. He'll be live at 8:50 to chat more on the tariff talks, or lack of. And today is Independence Day in war-torn Ukraine. 35 years ago, Ukraine's parliament proclaimed the country's independence. Now, 4.5 years into the full-scale invasion from Moscow, a group of protesters say they are in this for the long haul.
The protesters meet outside Russia's embassy in Ottawa every weekday to show support for Ukraine. They try to find colorful ways to remind people about the war, like holding IKEA umbrellas with the blue and yellow colors of Ukraine's flag. They gather to chide Russian embassy staff popping out during their lunch hour. Local retiree Karen Niven-Wigston says Canadians need to remember everything Russia is doing in the war, like abducting Ukrainian children. She says her resolve only grows when she reads about atrocities widely attributed to Russia. Jason White, The Canadian Press.
And that's your news to 7:06. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. We're asking if you've traveled to the U.S. so far this summer. 11% say yes. You can vote at CFAX1070.com, also on the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa Best, your news time, 7:08.
Thanks, Lisa. CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Right now through August 26th, receive 1,000 Scene Plus points for every $200 Smile gift card you purchase at Thrifty Foods in store. Taking a quick look at the weather, letting you know that it is 13 degrees. We got some sunshine on the way today, a little fog out there this morning, and a full forecast in just a moment. CFAX 1070 Sports. BC Lions playing yesterday. Yet another win as they continue to be a bit of a steamroller for this part of the season. They opened the season with that one win in the first 6 games. But after that, they haven't lost once, including yesterday, where the BC Lions scored 14 unanswered points in the third quarter to beat the visiting Saskatchewan Roughriders 30-16. Lions improved to 5-5 in the West Division, are only 2 points back of the second-place Roughriders, who have now lost 2 in a row and slipped to 6-4. In lacrosse, the WLA final continues with the Victoria Shamrocks forcing a Game 6 with an 8-4 win yesterday over the Coquitlam Adnacks at the Q Center. An exciting stay of elimination for the Shamrocks. Coquitlam, though, still leads the best-of-7 series 3-2. And it's the end of the road. But they got all the way to the very end of the road for the Junior A Victoria Shamrocks. They lost yesterday to the Calgary Raiders at the Minto Cup. It was the third game of the best-of-3. Raiders win it 9-6 the game, and they win the Minto Cup series 2-1. So there it is. There is a new champion for Junior A level of lacrosse. It is the Calgary Raiders, but right there behind them, the Victoria Shamrocks, who took it all the way to the end. That's your CFAX Sports to 7:09. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. No sailing waits at BC Ferries. 8 o'clock sailing is about 85% full from Swartz Bay to Tsawwassen. Roads are looking fairly clear. There's just the folks slowing down on the Trans-Canada Highway through the construction zone, but otherwise things are very much moving okay across the board all around the Victoria region. For the weather forecast today, we're looking at sunshine, a little fog this morning. Highs at 24, a humidex at 27, so feeling warm and muggy again today. Clear skies tonight, lows to 14, and then tomorrow kind of clouding over as the day goes on. We're going to be warm, the humidex up to 29 degrees, so it's going to be feeling even warmer tomorrow. Could be the warmest feeling day of the week. It also is bringing with it all that humidity, a chance of showers by overnight Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, Wednesday during the day, we expect it to not be rainy anymore, but we could see a mix of sun and cloud, and then a mix of sun and cloud taking us through the rest of the week with temperatures a little cooler for the back half of the week, but not much, just low 20s instead of the mid-20s we're seeing at the beginning of the week. Right now for the temperatures, if you are downtown, you got 13 degrees right now in Sydney. Up at the airport, the official temperature is also 13 degrees. Well, what's going on with the North American stock markets in light of all of the news that happened over the weekend with the U.S.-Canada trade deal collapsing? S&P TSX in Toronto down 28 points to 36,592. The Dow up 168 to 53,445. NASDAQ down 235 to 25,945. And the Canadian dollar at 72.3 cents U.S., which is down just a little bit from the previous close.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Texter at 71010 says, I experienced that lightning over the weekend from my house near Cowichan Lake. Several strikes were within a mile of my house, and the house shook and creaked like it has in past earthquakes. Wow. Mostly it was exciting to experience, but a couple of the closer strikes were unsettling. I can imagine.
We've had that. We had, it was when the jets went over and it was rattling my windows. Right. And I'm thinking, okay, what would it take for them to break? Lightning can break windows too.
Wow. Well, there's another experience from Saturday night. It depended on, I feel like the further north you were on the island, the more and more you got it. Down in the city, you were kind of looking at it from afar. But as we had that text from Cowichan in there, yeah, very close. We also had a text mentioning that on Salt Spring Island, it got quite close and even some rain falling. So big storm, lots of lightning strikes, setting some fires across BC. That's one of the situations we've got there. But yeah, tell us your story. Where were you when the lightning came down?
Where were you when the weather went sideways?
Yeah, no, it was just, you don't see it. You don't see lightning, period, in Victoria that often compared to other parts of Canada.
Agreed.
And then that lightning in particular was just so rapid fire. It was quite a spectacle to see. So
we've had some pretty wild weather considering normally July and August. There's nothing. You can hear a pin drop with the weather.
Just clear skies and sunny temperatures. That's all you get usually. Which makes me
wonder what's happening in November when we actually do get the storms.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be the opposite. Who knows?
Maybe.
But there you go. Hey, did you know that the Kids Count Mega Summer 50/50 jackpot is over $30,000? In fact, it's over $31,000 right now. That's incredible. 31,770 is the jackpot. So this is a 50-50 draw. Winner takes half that money. The winner's winning over $15,000 now, with the other $15,000 going to CFAX Santa's Anonymous and the Kids Count program, which is helping kids beyond Christmas. You can still get your tickets at, if you go to cfax1070.com and you click on the big button that says Kids Count Mega Summer 50/50, it takes you to where you can buy your ticket. You got to be 19 plus. You got to be a BC resident, but otherwise, there you go.
And you've only got a few days.
It's
weirdly, winding down.
It's the week. This is draw week. Friday.
Yeah.
We will be doing the draw at 7 in the morning. So, but around about this time, Friday, we will know who the big winner is. We're going to draw the ticket out of all the ones that are purchased. We should also mention that the deadline to buy a ticket is the previous day at 5 p.m. So this Thursday, August 27th, 5 p.m. is the cutoff for sales. So don't wait.
Yeah, we're down to the days.
7:15, time for the headlines. Here again is Lisa.
Well, the U.S. president getting busy again, too. He says tariffs on imports of cars, trucks, and auto parts from Canada will be increased to 50%. He made the announcement on Truth Social Post this morning after two countries failed to reach a trade agreement over the weekend. Trump said that Canada has been ripping off the U.S. for years. More to come. Iran is warning of a harsh response to anticipated new U.S. sanctions. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson says Tehran's response would also target countries as it sees as cooperating with the U.S. The prospect of expanding sanctions and Iran's threat to respond comes weeks after the impasse over the critical Strait of Hormuz. Iranian attacks and threats have severely hampered shipping traffic through the waterway since the U.S. began the war 6 months ago. WestJet flight attendants wrapping up a week-long vote as a tentative contract that would deliver more than 18% in wage increases over 3 years to them. The deal also includes new compensation for work performed on the ground, which was a key sticking area during negotiations. The agreement follows a one-day strike by about 4,400 cabin crew. That caused about 900 flight cancellations during the very busy summer travel period. It was the August long. If approved, workers would receive a 13% raise in October, followed by an additional raise in 2027 and, of course, 2028. That is your headline news to 7:17.
Texter at 7:10:10 says, I was at the Country Maples campground during the storm. 7 hours of it, it just wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
Country Maples campground, if I'm not mistaken, that's kind of up near Chemainus.
Cool.
This texter says, I was working in the garden deadheading the flowers, and I decided to go inside.
Yeah.
That is a good idea.
Probably smart.
Andrew here, my wife and son and I missed all the lightning and thunder. We live on Jutland, and we were busy watching movies. But seen some good videos on Facebook. People here in Victoria and people in Duncan posted some good shots of lightning. Have a great day. Yeah, if you're in the city, it was a little further away. You could certainly see it, but it wasn't,
as dramatic.
You wouldn't have heard it as much. I mean, we didn't even hear it that much in Sydney, but you hear the odd rumble from a distance. This texter says, I got up at 3 a.m., heard the rumbling, and looked out the windows. Torrential rain in North Nanaimo. I grew up in Montreal, though, so hard to rival the storms there.
True.
I think Lisa might know, says the texter. Yeah, Lisa knows.
We got supercells. That was the thing. And it was like a mini tornado going through. Lots of damage. But yeah, it's it depends where you are, and everybody gets something. So we get the storms in November, which are test our metal for sure.
text us at 71010 because we love it when you join the conversation. Coming up next, though, this is fun. I always love a good goat.
Hold the phone. I just love a good goat.
Complete pivot in topic. Let's go from lightning to goats. And I love it when they do that thing where you take a bunch of goats and you put them in an area where you want to get rid of, say, invasive species.
Well, this is new.
Or, maybe you just need to do the lawn.
Right.
Or whatever it is. Langford has a cool event, had a cool event over the weekend. Maybe you check this out. They were showcasing the power of goats when it comes to something different. Fire prevention. I love it. How does this work?
It's so Vancouver Island, isn't it?
I love
so kitsch. I love
it. I'm so happy.
We're taking the goats off the roof in Coombs and we're putting them on the ground. We've got hooves on the ground.
We've got the owner of Vancouver Island Goatscaping joining us in just a second to talk about how goats can help with fire prevention, and I'm into it. So let's do it next. CFAX traffic and weather. Text us at 71010 if you see a crash or other problem facing the commute. But I can tell you right now, things are looking very clear. No major issues and no major delays around the region. If you are heading to the BC Ferries, Swartz Bay to Tsawwassen, 8 o'clock sailing, about 90% full, so possible sailing wait, but no sailing wait as of yet. A very busy day, actually, if I look ahead. A lot of reservations all throughout the day, some very full sailings well into the afternoon. So could be shaping up to be busy, but no sailing waits at the moment. And for the weather, it's 13 degrees right now, eventually hitting a high of 24 with a humidex of 27. Some sunshine other than some morning fog, which is clinging to parts of the coastline right now.
The best way to start an island morning. Ryan and Lisa on CFAX 1070.
The power of goats, I tell you, they can do a lot of things. Maybe even fire prevention, which was what was on show this weekend at an event in Langford. Let's talk to the owner of a company called Vancouver Island Goatscaping, Natasha Murphy, to talk more about this. Natasha, hello, how are you?
Hello, great. How are you guys?
Great to talk to you. Tell me about Vancouver Island Goatscaping. I feel like the name sort of says it all, but maybe you could give us your take on what it is.
Yeah, you got it. So I have goats for invasive species management and brush control.
Now, I guess brush control is where it fits into the theme of what was going on yesterday, and that was to do with fire prevention. Is this where you can bring goats in to kind of clear some of the brush that might be a fire hazard? Is that the idea?
Yeah, you got it. So Langford Fire Rescue reached out to me, their Fire Smart coordinator, Courtney Tremblay, and she wanted to put on a demonstration for the public to show sort of one of the tools that we can use for wildfire mitigation and to reduce that fuel load to prevent fires. So goats are one of the tools that we can use to do that.
Gotcha. So this was over the weekend in Langford. How did it go?
It went really well. Yeah, it was very popular. I was speaking to people all day. Crowd of people around the goats, but then also good lineups at the fire safe tents as well. Lots of media coverage as well. It was a great success, and I think hopefully it continues for sure.
And was this an actual demonstration of them on the job? Like, did they get in there and clear some brush?
They did, actually. So I brought them down on Friday for an initial sort of munching on the blackberry and willow there. And then on Sunday was the actual event. I brought them down sort of 9 a.m. Before most of the public arrived. And they did a pretty significant job. I am always impressed at the work that they do.
And why is this an important thing for fire prevention? Because, I mean, we've already talked about it a little bit. You're getting rid of the sort of dry brambles and brush that could be a fire hazard there. How big of a deal is that on the island? And, how much brush should you worry about?
Yeah, that's a good question. For this demonstration, it was a great spot. It was quite a steep slope, and so it might not be safe for people to go up there and cut the brush, not appropriate for heavy machinery. It was also draining into a water body, so you can't spray chemicals to get rid of that brush either. So the goats are a great tool for climbing up those slopes near water bodies. And then you can't quite operate heavy machinery or chainsaws that could actually cause a fire. So the goats are just reducing all that brush instead. And they're a safe way to do that.
Natasha, we've actually heard from the goats. Now, you probably speak goat, but...
Sorry.
I
wasn't expecting that. You took me by surprise.
We're talking goat here, and if anybody can decipher what that means, Natasha can. Is it a good gig for them? Are they happy goats to be able to do this?
They are happy goats. Yeah, they sort of just run to head into the enclosure that I've set up for them, and they munch away. Because they're browsers, they sort of nibble here and then go over and nibble over there. But they love the leaves. It's good. It's nice to target the plant when it's in flower before you get the berries and the seeds falling on the ground kind of thing. But they ate the berries. They sort of had purple all over their lips and all that. So, yeah, they did a really good job.
So
they do enjoy it, for sure.
Is there a timeline? Like, would they go through the winter doing this?
So our season is typically in the spring when plants are starting to sort of green up and grow. But we'll work sort of right into the fall. They're sort of fair weather workers. They don't love the rain. So that sort of is the end to our season when the rains come.
Natasha, can I just ask, how do you get into this? Like, at what point did you decide I'm getting into the goat business? And I'm not talking about, milking goats or raising them for other agricultural reasons. I would like to lead a team of goats into brush clearing. Like, how does one go about that?
Yeah, so it's actually my master's research project. I wanted something that I was interested in instead of just picking from a list. And we had a demonstration from a company based in Alberta. And I asked them, sort of reached out to them when we were picking projects. And I said, hey, can I come and collect data before your goats go through the area and then again afterwards? And they said, sure, but would you like to come work for me? So I loaded up my little truck and headed out to sort of Cranbrook area and camped all summer and herded goats. We herded 350 goats on horseback all summer, and then in the evenings I would go out and collect my data.
That's so cool.
Definitely the best project of my cohort.
And you finished that project and decided to just go right into it. And you raised these goats yourself, right? You didn't just go buy a pack of goats. You actually raised these goats?
Yeah, so from that project, one of the goats lost its mother, and I was bottle feeding him. And at the end of that contract, they said, "Oh, are you taking your goat home with you?" And of course, I couldn't say no to that. It's just a baby goat. So yeah, he sat on my lap the whole ride home from Logan Lake, and so he was the beginning. And then a few years later, I moved to the island and joined the Vancouver Island Goat Association, and everybody knew that I sort of wanted to get into it. And every sort of kidding season, they would offer me goats, and finally I gave in. And it was during COVID, so I had the time to bottle feed these things 4 times a day. And the next year got 10 more. So it was busy, but I think it's a great strategy in that they come to me and they're friendly and people can interact with them. And this model works for me, and they don't run away from us. They sort of come to us so I can easily load them and not worry about their safety as much.
They're goats with a job. And we're talking to Natasha Murphy. She owns Vancouver Island Goatscaping, and they had a display this weekend in Langford where they were demonstrating the goat's ability to go clear brush that could be a fire hazard. But of course, you do invasive species removal and other things, as we've been learning. If people want to find out more, where can they find out more about your business?
Right now, I have sort of an Instagram and Facebook, but the best way to contact me is by email. So it's vigoatscaping@gmail.com.
Great to meet you, Natasha. Good luck with this.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, that's so cool. I love an animal with a job, just in general. And goats.
Goats are the coolest.
They're pretty cool.
I mean, it's Vancouver Island, and we just love the goats.
Our goats.
Think of Beacon Hill.
Exactly.
They're like dogs with hooves and horns.
Yeah. Anyway, 7:30 news coming up in just a few moments. We can digest some goat news while we wait for the rest of the headlines of the day. Stand by.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island. 40 years of Fringe magic. Experience Victoria Fringe Festival, August 26th through September 6th. Feel the roar at Pacific FC. Get your soccer tickets today at cplsoccer.com. West Shore Swap Shop and Market is at Rally at Royal Bay every Sunday. Support Goldstream Food Bank with a $2 admission or a food donation. Get more event info at cfax1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, 7:32 on Monday, August 24th. Sunny with a little morning fog. We'll get you a full forecast in just a moment. Right now, the news begins. Here is Lisa Best.
Follow continues from the tariff talks ending. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre calling on the Prime Minister now to reconvene Parliament to get details on the proposed trade deal that he rejected.
In a letter to Mark Carney on Sunday, Poilievre says it's time for the Prime Minister to release the text of the deal because, quote, Canadians must see it to judge what options are on the table. He also says Canadians need to know how much Carney's trade and economic policies will cost them in higher groceries, gas, and other prices. Now, Carney suspended trade talks with the United States on Friday after accusing the Trump administration of introducing measures that included restrictions on Canada's ability to do deals with other countries. In return, the Prime Minister has promised retaliatory tariffs in response to the new U.S. ones that will go into effect on September 8th. Poilievre also added in his letter that Parliament's duty is to hold government accountable and that job has never been more pressing. David Augustine, The Canadian Press.
The latest from BC's camp, the Premier, David Eby, backing sentiments made by Carney, saying Canada has been attacked by the U.S. amid breakdown of trade talks. While speaking with reporters afterwards, Eby also confirmed U.S. liquor will not be on BC shelves anytime soon.
My message to the Prime Minister and to the American ambassador and to American politicians who have asked has always been the same. That once forest families who work in the forest sector in British Columbia are treated fairly, that we would be happy to put American booze back on the shelves. Obviously, that is not the case. And as long as this economic attack continues on our softwood sector, as long as it continues on our economy here in British Columbia, the booze will not be going back on the shelves.
Canada set September 8th as a start date for retaliatory penalties following the U.S. president's decision to slap us with 50% tariffs on over $20 billion worth of Canadian goods. Of course, we've also heard this morning that the U.S. president says tariffs on imports of cars, trucks, and auto parts from Canada will be increased to 50%. He made that announcement on social media this morning. He says Canada has been ripping off the U.S. for years. The trade war between our two countries escalating, of course, with the collapse in the final hour. ABC News political correspondent Rachel Scott has the latest from Washington's side.
Canada will impose a 50% tariff on U.S. goods, everything from steel and dairy and clothes to plywood, alcohol, and electronics.
We're a small family-owned business.
Michael Howard owns a custom furniture shop in Warren, Michigan.
We just can't absorb that impact of cost, so we have to pass it down to our customers and essentially give them the decision like, are you okay with moving forward on this project with this dramatically increased cost of lumber?
The trade war only adding to the economic uncertainty.
Canada, not the only one in the crosshairs, according to America. The Trump administration is calling for a new set of sanctions against Iran, calling it Economic D-Day, which promises to be the toughest in history.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the goal is to, quote, sever every economic lifeline until Tehran stands alone. Now, Iran is warning that if the economic war continues, quote, not a single drop of oil will be exported through the Strait of Hormuz. Despite the rhetoric and the ongoing U.S. blockade on Iranian ports, we are now approaching 6 months since the U.S. and Israel launched their attacks on Iran, and there is no sign of a resolution.
Of course, there's chatter now about gas prices rising. Currently, GasBuddy.com is showing that our prices are holding steady, albeit high, hovering around $2.10 a litre for regular here in Greater Victoria. And that's your news to 7:36. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. We're asking, have you traveled to the U.S. this summer? 11% say yes. You can vote at CFAX1070.com. Also, the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news time, 7:37.
Thanks, Lisa. CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Coastal Heat Pumps. For a comfortable home in the matter of the season, big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps. They're designed for comfort. The South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. Let's talk CFAX 1070 sports, shall we? Lots going on the local scene. We'll start with the Shamrocks. Two different lacrosse teams doing two different things in two different places. Here are the results. In the WLA final, Senior Victoria Shamrocks forced Game 6 yesterday with an 8-4 win over the Coquitlam Adanacs at the Q Center in Game 5. That was a do-or-die situation for the Shamrocks. They could have been eliminated if they lost that one, but they forced that next game. Coquitlam still leading the best-of-7 series 3-2. We'll see where that next game goes as we head into a Game 6 that Victoria forced yesterday. For the Minto Cup, the 2026 Minto Cup victors are the Calgary Raiders, and they got there by beating the Victoria Junior A Shamrocks 9-6 yesterday. The Calgary Raiders winning the best-of-3 final series 2-1. But congrats to the Victoria Junior A Shamrocks for taking it all the way to the end. BC Lions with a win yesterday. They managed to take the Saskatchewan Roughriders by a score of 30-16. The Lions scoring 14 unanswered points in the third quarter in that effort yesterday. The Lions improved to 5-5 in the West Division. And the Toronto Blue Jays have the day off following an 8-3 loss to the New York Yankees yesterday. Toronto is 1.5 games behind Cleveland for that final American League wildcard spot. The Blue Jays will return to action tomorrow against the Kansas City Royals at the Rogers Center. That's your CFAX Sports. It's 7:39. Over to the CFAX 1070 traffic and weather, starting with the roads. Things still remaining fairly clear. No crashes to report. Minor delays on the Trans-Canada Highway as you head through the construction zone where they're widening the highway for the bus lanes. If you see a specific problem, though, do text me at 71010. For BC Ferries, it's kind of busy. A lot of reservations ahead, and now we've just got a one-sail wait at 8. The 8 o'clock sailing is only 20 minutes away. You got the 9 o'clock next with some vehicle deck space, but it's 13, flip that, 87% full, 13% deck space left. So getting busy at BC Ferries, just pointing that out. If you are looking to the weather, you can expect a sunny day. Highs of 24, humidex of 27. Clear skies tonight, lows to 14. Tomorrow, it's going to cloud over a bit and get very humid again. Humidity up to humidex of 29 tomorrow, so quite muggy. And a bit of rain could emerge from all of that by Tuesday night. Small chance of showers for Greater Victoria for Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Then it clears up. Cloudy, but some sunny breaks on Wednesday. And then the rest of the week looks like a mix of sun and cloud with temperatures in the low 20s. On the markets, S&P TSX still managing to be up despite all of the trade turmoil. We've got a 17-point gain on the day to 36,637. The Dow in New York is up 124 to 53,401. NASDAQ is down 226 to 25,953. Canadian dollar at 72.3 cents US.
Let's get started. Start your day informed and entertained. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Texters still letting us know about their experience with the big lightning storm over the weekend. This texter at 71010 says, the storm was amazing here in Crofton. Like many others, my neighbors and I scooted up, got housecoats on, grabbed a glass of wine, a chair, sat outside to watch the show. I've heard that from so many texters now.
What's with the bathrobe and wine? I like it.
Get the bathrobe, the wine, and the lawn chair.
I want in on that crowd.
That combo, that's making me happy.
It?
Big fan of that.
Yep.
This texter Here says, good morning, Ryan and Lisa. On Saturday night, we went chasing after the Lightning a bit. We live near Maple Bay, drove through the Cowichan Valley, saw some amazing strikes, but after we got home and went to bed amidst the booms and flashes, one particular boom at 1 a.m. sounded like an explosion. Our whole house shook. Yeah. I've never heard anything so loud. Yeah, we've had a couple of texts, too, with people saying
it does sound
the
like
ones that hit close really was a bit of a scary situation when it happened.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying when it hits that close, and it does really feel and sound like an explosion. It's very loud.
Texter says, well, guys, I feel like I missed out. I didn't hear a thing. Slept right through it. I live on interurban. So there's another one. If you were closer to like the core of Victoria, or in that case, Saanich, like the further south you went, the more it was flashes in the sky, but there wasn't a lot of sound going with it.
But did you have your bathrobe on and a glass of wine beside you?
That's the important
That's
thing.
inquiring minds want to know.
Do you know who did not like the lightning?
Who?
The dogs.
Oh, no kidding.
Texter at 71010 says, Sonny, my Labrador retriever, ran and hid in the bedroom when he heard the thunder booms. Some bird dog he is, signed Roscoe.
It's a bird dog. He's not a lightning dog.
There you go. That's great.
Good.
I love hearing the stories. Lisa and I also were watching it. I was in Sydney, where we were kind of closer to it, seeing it from a window, looking north, and you were up on Gonzales Hill,
Yes,
Lisa.
checking it out.
So got a
gale
great
force
view.
wind.
Yeah, windy up there, you said.
It was very windy up there, but it was phenomenal. Great energy. And it was far enough away that I knew I was going to get hit. So that was a bonus, too.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Text us at 71010 if you want to join this or any of our conversations. We've also obviously been talking about the trade situation. We will continue to cover that. It's one of our top stories of the day. Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, more coverage of the collapse of U.S. and Canada trade talks and what this will all mean. We are hearing just now kind of the latest to emerge this hour. U.S. President Donald Trump now making more threats. He's saying he'll hike tariffs on all vehicles, auto parts, and steel from Canada to 50% on January 1st. So that's the latest threat that
Correct.
came just now from the Trump camp.
We can't seem to go a day, can we?
Yeah, more news coming out of this. So we'll keep you posted on that story and more as we go. But it's time for the headlines. Speaking of keeping you up to date on the news, here's Lisa.
Aside from the political fires, we have actual ones too here in the province. The BC Wildfire Service says the new fires ignited across the province over the weekend following the lightning strikes. There was about 7,000 strikes. The service says the strikes were caused by that subtropical weather system that brought hot weather to much of the province. It was very high humidity before that storm hit. Lightning caused wildfires started most of the Southern Fire Centre fires. The province were recording about 50 new fires in the last 24 hours. Now, compared to Friday's numbers, we're up about 60 fires. We're at 184 wildfires burning, 64 of those out of control. There's been 63 new starts in the last day, 30 fires approximately on Vancouver Island, including 6 that are considered out of control. They're new fires, so crews rushing to get a handle on those. Vancouver Island University Nanaimo campus set to become the first Loaves and Fishes Community Food Bank, 12th, a free food market location this week, the first on Vancouver Island University campus. Residents can access the service every Monday from 5 to 7 in the Windsor Plywood Trades Discovery Building. That's Building 108. Loaves and Fishes operates 13 of these markets to bring food to people. The free food market model is central to their approach to food security. Anyone can access the market once they register, and there's free parking lot for you in Lot U from 4 to 7 today. And European leaders are in Kyiv to join celebrations of Ukraine's 35th anniversary of independence today. The leaders joined President Volodymyr Zelensky as Russia presses on with its 4-year invasion, over 4 years now. There's been no significant changes on the front lines for months and no apparent progress in the more than a year of U.S.-led peace talks. Both Ukraine and Russia are locked in a spiral of escalating aerial attacks that are killing civilians, of course, and smashing critical infrastructure. That is your news to 747.
One of the big sports stories we have been following is the two Shamrocks teams. We got the Junior A Shamrocks and the Senior Shamrocks, both in these final competitions in their seasons. We just saw at the WA final, the Senior Shamrocks keep things alive, facing elimination last night, forcing a Game 6. But at the Minto Cup, the big one for the Junior A Shamrocks, they took it all the way to the very last game, lost it in the end to the Calgary Raiders, who will be the the Minto Cup champions. But the Shamrocks were right there, right to the bitter end, and a guy following it closely is our boss man Brad. He is the CFAX 1070 program director, but he's also a lacrosse broadcaster. He's going to weigh in on the end of the road for the Victoria Junior A Shamrocks next.
This summer, 3 of Vancouver Island's biggest voices are coming together to make a real difference.
Get your tickets now for the Kids Count Mega Summer 50-50.
Brought to you by 107.3 Virgin Radio, CFAX 1070, and CTV.
In support of CFAX Santa's Anonymous all-new Kids Count program, supporting children beyond Christmas.
The Mega Summer 50-50.
Your chance to win big while giving back.
Buy your tickets today at CFAX1070.com.
Gaming event license 174660.
CFAX 1070 traffic and weather at 7:49. We got a one sail wait at BC Ferries. Swartz Bay to Tsawwassen 8 o'clock sailing is full. And looking ahead into the day, a lot of reservations today. So just watch out for a busy day at the BC Ferries with several of our sailings close to full already all the way up into the afternoon. But it's just a one sail right now. Lots of some room left on the 9 o'clock from Swartz Bay to Tsawwassen. Roads are clear. No issues there. You can text us at 71010. And in the weather forecast, sunny, a little fog this morning. Otherwise, a high of 24. A humidex of 27. Clear skies tonight, lows to 14. More humidity in the air tomorrow, and eventually a chance of showers Tuesday night, although it dries up by Wednesday during the day. Temperatures right now, 13 degrees is the official temperature forecast at the Victoria International Airport.
It's all here. News, weather, traffic, and community events. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Well, big round of applause for the Victoria Junior A Shamrocks, who took it all the way to the end. But in the end, they lost it to the Calgary Raiders. But wow, what a great season that just came to the end for the Victoria Junior A Shamrocks. And somebody who's there in Calgary covering the Minto Cup. It's our boss man Brad is joining us on the line. Brad, how you doing?
I'm excellent, guys. I'm actually at the airport, ready to come home. It's been a long week, and I miss Victoria, and I miss you guys. So happy to be heading to the coast again.
Well, yes. We'll see you soon. You missed a wild thunderstorm and lightning show, by the way, over the weekend.
That's rare. That's a once in a year opportunity in Victoria. So that's sad. Now you're giving me some more FOMO.
There we go. Just to make sure you really wanted to come home.
You had something else big going on.
Yeah, you had the Minto Cup 2026 Minto Cup that saw the Victoria Junior A Shamrocks make it all the way to the final moment in the final round. It was a best of 3. It went to 3 games, but yesterday the Calgary Raiders did take the whole thing. So let's talk about how this all went down. How was this weekend?
Yeah, it was an amazing week, and I think the Victoria Shamrocks can be very proud. And it was also a historic week, guys, because this actually was the first time that a team from Alberta, the Alberta Junior Lacrosse League, has ever won the Minto Cup. So kind of history was going to be made either way. Either Alberta was going to win it for the first time, or the Shamrocks were going to win it for the first time in 38 years with their coaching staff behind the bench that was on the floor in '88. So there's a lot of history on the line. The Shamrocks got pretty beat up in game number 1 as the Raiders came out really quick. They responded really well in game 2 and kind of dominated the pace of play on Saturday night, but then yesterday just I think they were kind of ran out of steam, and Calgary had that history on the line, and in their home building with a lot of noise and a lot of friends and family, like they wanted to make history last night, and they did. But the Shamrocks are leaving here with their heads held high and can be very proud of the work that they put in this week.
Is there any recognition of like second place or anything? Can they consider themselves silver medal winners? I know that's not a thing, but is that kind of the vibe?
I think that their fifth-year players, their graduates that are leaving Junior A can feel that they got literally as far as you can get without winning it. Like Game 3 of the Minto Cup, that's rare. Like that's the only team in the country that was able to do that this year. So I think it's going to be a tough couple days. Like these kids were devastated, guys. I felt so bad for some of the players, like doubled over and in tears after the game, because this is the last Junior A game they're ever going to play with the teammates that they grew up with, and not all of them are going to go on to play pro. Some of them are going to go on to deep college careers, but this could be the end of the road for some of these players too. So it's a little crushing, but I think as the smoke clears months from now, years from now, they can look back and say, man, we went to Game 3 of the Minto Cup against this Rocky Mountain team that won the first ever championship for Alberta. So the benefit too is that the Victoria Shamrocks are hosting this tournament next year. So it'll be a completely different looking team because they're losing so much to graduation, but what a chance for redemption on home floor August 2027.
Yeah, and I think what you just said there is important. I mean, we always mention Junior A Shamrocks, implying children, but sometimes you forget these players out there. They're literal children, and wow, just got to be proud of them for getting this far.
Yeah, they're 17 to 21, so they're young men, but they're just starting. It's an emotional time for a young man's life. You're going off to college. You're thinking about what you're going to do for the future. Then have this kind of like emotional thing happen to you this week is it's going to be a while to kind of bounce back from that. But the other thing that comes with youth is the resiliency, right? So I think the guys that are going on will be better players because of it.
Well, anyways, big round of applause. Victoria Junior A Shamrocks, you should be proud. We're all proud of you, and have a good trip home. Now, the other storyline, though, because the Junior A Shamrocks are doing that at the Minto Cup. The Senior Shamrocks, meanwhile, at the Q Center yesterday at home, managed to keep themselves alive in this scrappy best-of-7 series against the Coquitlam Adanacs. This is the WLA final, so the last regular kind of the WA's final series before they go on to the national competition. The winner of this one will go on to that, but the Mann Cup. But this one yesterday, forcing a Game 6. It was an exciting one at the Q Center. Talk about how this series has been shaping up, because the Shamrocks were pretty dominant through the regular season, but they've really gotten themselves into a tough fight.
Yeah, so these are the big boy Shamrocks. These are the WLA Shamrocks who are fighting for a berth to the Mann Cup, which will be held in Ontario, either between Peterborough or Six Nations, the winner of that series. But this is what happens when you run into a hot goaltender, and a hot goaltender can change anything in the sport of lacrosse. And yes, the Shamrocks had a really clean regular season. They had probably the best goaltender of the regular season, but Coquitlam's Christian Del Bianco is known as probably the best goaltender in lacrosse on the planet right now, and they've run into an absolute weapon and a brick wall against Christian Del Bianco. They've been struggling to score themselves this series, and Del Bianco kind of single-handedly leading this Adanac team to this 3-2 series lead right now. Up and down the Coquitlam roster, they're really young. They've got a lot of junior players that they've called up. They've battled through injury, so it's safe to say like Del Bianco is the reason that they are where they are. And the Victoria Shamrocks got to find a way to kind of crack his code tomorrow and force Game 7 back home on Thursday night.
Do you think they can do it? Do you think they can go all the way?
I think they could do it. They've shown some resiliency, and they've got a great coaching staff. They'll go to the film room, they'll break down Del Bianco, and they'll figure out a way to get back on home floor for Game 7 in front of friends and family in Victoria, because that is a tough building to play in. You get to Game 7 at home, and I think really good things can happen for this team. So thinking positively this morning.
I like that storyline. Win this Game 6 in enemy territory and bring it home to Game 7 at the Q Center. I think that would be a pretty exciting finish. A little stressful, but exciting finish nonetheless if they can do it.
Yeah, you got to put a little adversity on yourself, right? That was what the junior Shamrocks were saying all week. Is like they didn't take the easy path to the Minto Cup, but I think it made them a better team at the end of it. So the Shamrocks, if they can overcome this adversity, they'll be sitting good at home in Game 7.
He's Boss Man Brad Challoner. He is a lacrosse broadcaster. He's been covering the Minto Cup from Calgary. Also our boss here at CFAX 1070. Always great to chat with you. Thank you for joining us a few times over the course of this Minto Cup run. It's been exciting for the lacrosse scene here in Victoria, and we've been following it with great interest. Thank you for all your time over the last week.
Thank you guys for holding on the fort. I hope you've been good, and look forward to catching up tomorrow in person.
Well, welcome back from Calgary. Don't worry, we didn't toilet paper your office. It didn't happen.
The place is still standing, Brad.
Are my plants alive?
Oh yeah, was I supposed to water those? Oops. Sorry. See you soon, Brad.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, wow. There we go. We've got much more to come. Stand by. The 8 o'clock hour is next. Of course, Lisa with the top stories of the day at 8. We are going to continue to follow the big national and international story that is the collapse of the trade talks Friday night between Canada and the U.S. The tariff spat is on, and as we've been mentioning already, Donald Trump threatening new tariffs as of this morning. We're still trying to figure out exactly what it'll all mean with Canada getting ready for its counter tariffs. We will also talk to a retired former diplomat here in Victoria, just kind of about just there's the trade, there's the numbers, there's all of that stuff, but the actual situation in that room with the two sides and the collapsing trade talks and what we're learning about Howard Lutnick, the American, maybe swooping in right at the end with a bunch of extra demands that derailed the whole thing.
Yes.
We're still trying to put together this picture and put together this weird form of trying to negotiate with this American side that is
volatile at best.
Volatile at best. That's a good way to put it.
Jeremy Kinsman is coming up. He's a retired diplomat. I emphasize retired because Jeremy always has his filter off.
I love that about Jeremy, and he's going to be joining us in the 8 o'clock hour. You don't want to miss that. Much more to come. 8 o'clock news, though, right now.
CFAX Victoria,
an iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning. It's 8:01 on this Monday, August 24th. Sunny today. A little coastal fog could be out there, depending on where you are. We'll check the temperature right now. 13 degrees at the airport, eventually warming up to 24. Time now for the news. Here's Lisa.
Thank you and good morning. BC wildfire update. Their current status, according to the dashboard, 184 fires burning, 64 out of control. As of Friday, this time we had 124 fires burning. We've had 63 new starts in just the last 24 hours, 30 fires approximately on Vancouver Island, including 6 considered out of control. They're all new and mostly from lightning strikes. More than 7,000 strikes hit BC over a 24-hour period this morning. Most of us saw the sky light up on the weekend. The BC Wildfire Services crews were prepared for that weather, and they managed to put out or hold at least 60% of roughly 50 new fires. Rainy weather also happened, but the reprieve will be short-lived. We're expecting more hot, dry conditions on the way this week. This as the federal housing advocate warns of a new report that the wildfire season in this country has become so bad that housing displacement is become a regular fact for many First Nations. Last year, we saw the second worst wildfire season on record, with more than 130 First Nations affected and thousands of people forced into their homes and communities.
Marie-Josée Houle says a lack of coordinated emergency management supports and a severe housing gap have left First Nations trapped in a spiraling cycle during wildfire seasons. She recommends developing a national emergency management strategy to coordinate between First Nations communities and federal and provincial governments.
First Nations people living on reserves are more than 10 times more vulnerable to fire-related deaths than non-Indigenous people. To the fire in politics now, federal Conservatives want Mark Carney to release details of the U.S. trade offer that was rejected in the 11th hour. Pierre Poilievre penning an open letter to the Prime Minister making the demand yesterday. Former federal cabinet minister Lisa Raitt, who's a member of Mark Carney's Canada-U.S. Advisory Council, says that would be a smarter move than a slow leak of details from various media reports.
I think it's worse than actually setting out, this is what was asked for, this is what we said we can't do. I don't think there's any negotiating harm in that to say, well, this is what we couldn't give them. Here's the problem, though. I mean, it's okay to borrow. It's okay to think, okay, we've got to bridge people through this period of time. But what's the period of time?
Canada's counter-tariffs kick in on September 8th. There's some optimism that trade negotiations could resume before then. Meantime, many Canadians wondering about reciprocal tariffs lasting for any sustained period of time. Concordia University economics professor Moshe Lander offers his perspective.
$20 billion means that we're talking about a little less than 3 weeks worth of stuff is now subject to this tariff. This is not the end of the world. It's not good for those industries for sure. And if we're going to do dollar for dollar counter tariffs, then we're talking about a little less than 3 weeks worth of imports. That's going to add to inflation in this country, but it's not going to be a return to where it was a few years ago at the end of COVID.
Experts still forecasting any prolonged trade war could lead to job losses in the thousands. Nevertheless, 3 in 4 Canadians say this country ending the deal was the right call. That according to a new poll out from Angus Reid. This after the Prime Minister removed our nation's negotiators from the deal in the 11th hour. Canada, of course, will start implementing retaliatory tariffs on September 8th. We'll hear more from retired diplomat Jerry Kinsman. He'll be up at 8:50 to talk about what happens next in negotiations, if anything. And in entertainment news, an unsung star of Motown has died.
A receptionist for Motown did more than take notes. She wrote them.
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees. I keep That's what I want.
Janie Bradford joined Motown in 1958, wrote songs with Berry Gordy, including this one, Money, That's What I Want. 1959 hit for Barrett Strong. Would be one of the Beatles' big hits, too. Her passing announced over the weekend by her family. She died in L.A. at the age of 87. Wayne Cabot, ABC News.
And that is your news to 8:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question we're asking, have you traveled to the U.S. this summer with everything going on? 10% say yes. You can vote at cfax1070.com, also on the iHeartRadio app and Twitter X. I'm Lisa Best. Your news time is 8:07.
Thanks, Lisa. We are looking at a temperature of 13 degrees, eventually getting into a high of 24. A little humidity in the air today, making it feel muggy as well. Full forecast to come. Right now, over to the sports. Well, we're just talking to boss man Brad there about the Minto Cup. The Victoria Junior A Shamrocks taking it all the way to the very possible end of the road. They did lose in the end, and the 2026 Minto Cup winners are the Calgary Raiders. But the Victoria Junior A Shamrocks, way to go, boys. You got all the way to the very end. Calgary winning with a 9-6 victory in Game 3 yesterday, taking the best of 3 series 2-1. And at the WLA final, Victoria Shamrocks forcing a Game 6 with an 8-4 win over the Coquitlam Adanacs last night at the Q Center. So these are the senior boys, or the senior men, I should say. Coquitlam still leads the best of 7 series 3-2. Game 6 going tomorrow. For the BC Lions, they started the CFL season with just 1 win in their first 6 games, but since then they have not missed a beat. They've got another win yesterday, scoring 14 unanswered points in the third quarter, beating the visiting Saskatchewan Roughriders 30-16. The Lions now with a 5-5 record in the West Division. And Toronto Blue Jays with the day off today after an 8-3 loss over the New York Yankees in that wildcard race. Toronto is 1.5 games behind Cleveland for the final American League wildcard spot. The Blue Jays return to action tomorrow against the Kansas City Royals at home at the Rogers Center. That's your CFAX 1070 Sports. It's 8:08. CFAX traffic and weather. By the way, the whole morning show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Right now through August 26th, receive 1,000 Scene Plus points for every $200 Smile card you purchase at Thrifty Foods. For traffic on the roads, no crashes reported to me at this time. I don't see any major issues. In fact, the volume delays are light. The roads are flowing well. I think it's a pretty easy commute so far on this Monday morning. Knock on wood, it stays that way. BC Ferries has been busy, though. The 8 o'clock sailing was full. It's gone now. The 9 o'clock sailing coming up is a possible sailing weight at 91% full. For the weather forecast, sunny today, high of 24, but a humidex of 27, so a bit muggy if you're, away from the coastal breezes and inland. Clear skies, lows to 14 for tonight, and then tomorrow we will be sunny for the start, high of 24, a humidex of 29, so the warmest day of the week will be tomorrow with that extra humidity, leading to a small chance of showers overnight, Tuesday into Wednesday. Wednesday itself, once we get through those possible showers in the morning, will be dry, mix of sun and cloud, highs of 20, and then the rest of the week looks like that, mix of sun and cloud, temperatures into the low 20s. On the markets, the S&P TSX has managed to stay up despite all the turmoil with trade in the U.S. Canada's main stock index up 60 points to 36,681 on the day. In New York, the Dow Jones up 144 to 53,410. The NASDAQ is down by 153 to 26,027. Canadian dollar at 72.3 cents U.S.
Don't attempt your morning commute without us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Talking about lots of things. We are talking lightning because that was quite the show on the weekend, and texters are letting us know their stories about watching the storm. This texter at 71010 says, "Good morning, Ryan and Lisa. We live on the peninsula and drove down to the Pat Bay, to Pat Bay, I should say, and watched the show out over the water. I think everybody out here also had the same idea. It was a traffic jam." Oh, interesting. So a ton of folks taking to the roads to go to Pat Bay. I'm not talking about the highway, talking about the bay itself.
Yes.
Interesting. This texter says, "My dog and I slept right through it in James Bay."
Probably good for the dog.
Yeah, in the city, there wasn't much noise.
No.
You could see it.
There was light, but there was no noise.
Lightning, where were you? You can text us at 71010. The other thing we're talking about, of course, is the collapse of trade talks between Canada and the U.S. On Friday, there's been days of fallout now. More news this morning as we see the U.S. president making more tariff threats.
Yes.
So that's all developing. We are going to be talking more trade and getting a take from a retired diplomat, Jeremy Kinsman, who we talk to from time to time here on the show. He's going to weigh in on his take as a guy who used to be in the rooms of, diplomatic encounters between two countries. How does he, what does he think about the way this one went? We're going to get into that in just a moment.
And what's next?
Yeah. All of that coming up. We are going to talk a little BC politics, though, because while we've got such a focus on this big national, international issue with the U.S., some interesting BC politics emerging over the weekend. For instance, BC Conservative MLA Rianne Gasper has resigned her seat. She is in Abbotsford Mission because the leader, Carrie Lynn Findlay, who doesn't have a seat, is trying to find one, and they were trying to find somebody who would step aside to force a by-election, which would allow Carrie Lynn Findlay to run for the legislature. And it looks like they found their person, so that's Rianne Gasper of Abbotsford Mission, who is also the BC Conservatives' deputy whip, so resigning. By-election will happen there. So that was one storyline.
Did they get anything for stepping down like
Usually.
that?
Now,
And
this
that's what
is
happened
just
with Pierre Poilievre, right?
usually you get some back scratching down the road.
Free sandwich or something?
Maybe the party offers you some plum position somewhere, like or if you form government, maybe
The art of the deal.
We've got a nice. I mean, if it's federal politics, it's usually we got a nice Senate seat for you somewhere down the road, that kind of thing.
But you don't tell people they have to change their language and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good.
The other thing we've still been continuing to follow in BC politics was the big shakeup with Brenda Bailey, of course, and her cancer situation, stepping away from the finance portfolio. We saw Josie Osborne, the Vancouver Island MLA, moving into the finance position.
Shuffle.
The health position that Josie Osborne left is being filled by the person we're going to talk to next, Ravi Kahlon, the now former, he was doing jobs in the economy.
Yes.
We'd speak to him all the time whenever the jobs numbers would come out.
A foot on each horse in the stream, right?
Yeah. So what is it going to be like stepping into what is a fairly difficult file, the health portfolio? There's a lot of challenges there. We're going to talk to Ravi Kahlon, new Minister of Health. He's joining us in just a few moments on the program as we continue to cover all the BC politics. One more lightning text, though, from Langford. I heard at least a few big booms. My partner saw some flashes. That was the take from Langford. Yeah, it was a wild night on Saturday.
Okay.
8:15, over to the headlines. Here's Lisa.
And it was a wild night for people trying to fly in and out of Vancouver International Airport. Of course, when the lightning is striking, the planes can't take off. Some passengers left stranded on the tarmac into the early morning hours as lightning prevented ground crews from helping the planes reach their gates. Kenneth Ermter says his plane sat on the tarmac for more than 6 hours. There weren't enough crew to move it, even when the lightning did stop. The airport says flights couldn't depart for more than 5 hours due to the storm. Then additional staff were called in over the weekend. The BC Wildfire Update says there are 184 wildfires burning this hour. 64 of those out of control. Most of them, if not all, were from lightning strikes. There was more than 7,000 lightning strikes across BC over a 24-hour period this morning, so no shortage of action from the sky. To the political lightning strikes now, President Trump is striking again, saying tariffs on imports of cars, trucks, and auto parts from Canada will be increased to 50%. This the latest from an announcement on his Truth Social post this morning after the countries failed to reach a trade agreement on the weekend. Trump says Canada has been ripping off the U.S. for years. He adds their ridiculously high tariffs on our farmers and farm products have made life impossible for these great American patriots. Yeah. And Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says the unraveling of trade talks It means the Prime Minister should reconvene Parliament. Poilievre says he wants details, and so did the Canadian public, on the proposed U.S. trade deal that was rejected. Carney suspended the talks, of course, on Friday, accusing the Trump administration of introducing late-hour unacceptable measures, including affecting our language. And TikTok is agreeing to pay $400 million to settle a U.S. government lawsuit. The suit alleges the company violated the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. The law requires websites and online services directed at kids to obtain parental consent before collecting personal information from users under the age of 13. That's your news to 8:17.
Coming up next, Ravi Kahlon, BC's new health minister. CFAX 1070 Morning Show brought to you by Coastal Heat Pumps. For a comfortable home nomad of the season, big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps that are designed for comfort. South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. Road's still looking clear. If you see a crash or any other kind of issue facing the morning commute, do text us at 71010, but we're fairly problem-free this morning. BC Ferries has been a busy day. We've now got another sailing wait. 9 o'clock did fill up. The 10 o'clock has some room left, but there are heavy reservations throughout a lot of the day, right up until the evening. So be aware of a busy day facing you at BC Ferries if you're heading to Swartz Bay to Swanson without a reservation. Weather forecast, it's now up to 15 degrees. We got sunshine with us today, highs of 24 and a little humidity in the air. Tonight, clear skies, lows to 14.
Thanks for starting your day with us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Well, he's got a new job. BC's brand new health minister is joining us on the line, Ravi Kahlon. Sir, how you doing?
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Great to get you here. So we're still continuing to follow up on the cabinet shuffle that saw Brenda Bailey leave the finance portfolio as she deals with some health challenges with cancer. And we saw the former health minister, Josie Osborne, moving into the finance portfolio. And in that whole mix, you got a new job. How do you feel about health minister?
Well, it's certainly a big challenge right now, not only here in British Columbia, but in jurisdictions around North America. But I'm excited to take on the role. There's, I think, real opportunities here. You know, in the last just year, we've seen a lot of positive movement. We've attracted over 580 healthcare professionals from the U.S., convinced them to move up here and work on our system. You know, we're attaching 4,000 people a week to a doctor, which is fantastic. But we know there's still challenges. And, you know, at the end of the day, when people need access to healthcare, they want it right away and they want it to be the highest quality. And so we have some work to do to get there, but I'm optimistic that we can take this one on.
What do you see as some of the big challenges you'd have to tackle first? Because, I mean, you got... there's a long laundry list of issues facing the BC healthcare system. What do you think are the priorities?
Well, what I've picked up in the first week and a half in the role is that it's like buying a new sweater. When that little thread sticks out, you pull out one thread and it feels like another one is coming. And so, it's hard to take on the challenges that we're dealing with on healthcare one thread at a time. We're going to have to kind of look at it in a very comprehensive way. I would say from what I hear from people, it's, they want to have access to a family doctor. They want to make sure when they get to the emergency room that they can be seen in a timely way and make sure that the care is quality. And folks that are waiting for surgeries want to just make sure, they want to know that they're going to be able to get that in a reasonable time, especially people that are struggling with pain. So, I would say those are some of the challenges, and they're all kind of connected to each other. And although we're attracting a lot more healthcare professionals, actually we have the highest per capita doctors now in the country because of the initiatives we have to make sure that the system is working to ensure good quality as well as timely service.
Now, you moved out of jobs in the economy into health. I sometimes wonder, is this a ministry that you have a personal interest in, health? Did you put your hand up and say, hey, I want to be here? Or, is this a fit for you?
I didn't put my hand up to say I wanted to be here, but I'm glad that I got the opportunity to do it. And there is a big link. Because the only way that we're going to be able to do this is obviously attracting personnel and talent. And that was something that I spent a lot of time when we were working on economic matters. Everyone is looking for talent, access to talent, whether that's training people here, but also there's opportunity in the innovation space. I think there's a way for us to innovate both our processes so we get better outcomes with the dollars we're investing in healthcare, but also a whole host of innovation opportunities to improve healthcare outcomes. So there is a lot of overlap between what I was doing previously to now. Of course, there's a whole new dimension of work as well, which I'm excited to dive into.
I'm going to ask what might be a bit of a silly question, but I was talking to the BC Greens and the BC Conservatives representatives from the two opposition parties in the legislature, and they've had some criticisms. For instance, moving Josie Osborne out of health at a time where the health ministry is facing all the challenges we were just talking about. Is this a time to start moving things around? Was one of the criticisms. And one of the things I just asked as we were talking to those opposition members was, how much of a difference does a minister make in, particularly in a juggernaut like the health ministry? This is a massive system. Does the person who's there as a minister actually make that much difference? How big of a role do you have in actually shaping things or changing anything, or do those things just have so much momentum they kind of go at their own pace?
It's hard to make changes in a ministry that is $45 billion. And so you have to be very targeted. And no doubt that Minister Osborne did a fantastic job given the circumstances and the challenges. I'll bring a different perspective and a different style to the portfolio. And of course, time will tell with these things. But in the end of the day, who's the minister, who's the CEO of a health authority, these things matter very little. In the end of the day, it's about people in our communities. And when they need access to health care, are they getting it when they need it? Those are the things that really will matter. That's what we'll be judged on.
Now, your previous role, jobs in the economy, a role you've had a couple of times, actually. You've been moved into there a couple of times over the course of different shuffles. You also had a role in that sort of vein with BC's Tariff Response Committee. Is that also carrying on, or are you leaving that as well as you go to health?
I suspect I'll continue to have some role in that. You can't get into any portfolio and not have one eye on what's happening on the tariffs. And I certainly have been watching and, seeing what's happened in the last 72 hours. It's disappointing, but quite frankly, not surprising. Anyone that's been following this president knows a couple of things. One, it's a little erratic. It doesn't feel like there's a real strategy on what they're trying to do, which makes it really hard when you're trying to sit down in a thoughtful way and find a pathway forward. Dealing with someone like that is very challenging. Second, I think the challenge we have is, what does a trade deal mean in the context of the agreement that we have has already been broken multiple times. And so, I think having the confidence in an agreement when the other partner continues to change the deal is just a challenging environment for us to be in. And so we in British Columbia have to do what we have been doing. We are going to lead the country in economic growth. We have the most investments from any province in the country coming to British Columbia. So we have to do our part as part of Team Canada. And it makes me proud to see all the premiers coming together to move the ball forward.
Yeah, it does seem like the country has been uniting behind the Prime Minister, including BC. It sounds like we've heard that from the Premier over the weekend, and I guess that's your take as well, that we're kind of here for Team Canada at this moment. Do you feel like that united front is being shown?
I definitely think so. And it's been like that for the last year, I would say. And, it doesn't matter if it was Prime Minister Carney or whoever it was. In the end of the day, when your country is being threatened, it's a responsibility of all elected officials to come together. It doesn't mean you have to agree on everything, because there's plenty of space for disagreement that happens. But at the end of the day, we have to find solutions. And I think that's what the public is craving. What I hear from people all the time is like, we're tired of hearing this story, bad story. We want to know that you're thinking about solutions, finding creative ways to move forward, creating economic opportunities, helping address our healthcare challenges so that we can live in our communities and prosper. I mean, that's what we want, and that's what I'm starting to see across the country, which gives me a lot of hope.
Ravi Kahlon, he is, BC's brand new Minister of Health, but he has just been with the BC Tariff Response Committee, and his former role as Jobs and Economy Minister deeply tied him to some of the stories we've been watching unfold over the weekend. So it's great to get your perspective on that as well. Thank you for talking about all those topics today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, very good. With healthcare as the topic, for sure. We'll leave it there. We've got to take a break, but more on the trade negotiations that collapsed on Friday, because we got a retired diplomat who we talked to about these things from time to time. Jeremy Kinsman joining us before the end of the show, so stay with us. Much more to come, but Lisa's got your 8:30 news next.
This summer, 3 of Vancouver Island's biggest voices are coming together to make a real difference.
Get your tickets now for the Kids Count Mega Summer 50/50.
Brought to you by 107.3 Virgin Radio, CFAX 1070, and CTV.
In support of CFAX Santa's Anonymous all-new Kids Count program, supporting children beyond Christmas.
The Mega Summer 50/50.
Your chance to win big while giving back.
Buy your tickets today at CFAX1070.com.
Gaming event license 174660. The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe.
Everyone wants to know about real estate. Is the market going up or down? Time to buy or sell? How can government programs and policies affect you? Hear from local experts on topics like appraisal, inspection, investment, and others on how to maximize your real estate sale.
Providing info on everything you needed to know about real estate. The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe. Saturdays at noon on CFAX 1070. CFAX Victoria,
an iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning. It's 8:30 on this Monday, August 24th, a sunny day. A little coastal fog possible this morning. We'll get you a full forecast in a moment. Right now, the news begins, and here is Lisa Best.
Canadians are weighing in on what happened Friday night. About 3 in 4 say their country ending U.S. trade negotiations was the right call.
That's according to a new poll from the Angus Reid Institute. This after Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney removed his nation's negotiators from trade discussions with the United States just before a new round of tariffs from the Trump administration went into effect. Carney said Canada would implement retaliatory efforts on the U.S. starting September 8th. I'm Michael Kastner.
Now, Prime Minister Mark Carney describing as the last-minute amendments that we could not agree to. That's what derailed talks. CTV's Jeremy Sharon has some of the latest developments amid fear that this ongoing trade war could lead to even more job losses.
Carney has promised retaliatory measures set to be imposed September 8th. Some suggest creating a window of opportunity.
There may be an opportunity in this pause for the American side to regroup and to become a bit more coherent.
Though public polling here prior to the breakdown in talks suggests the Prime Minister has the political capital to keep fighting back.
Going to have to see real change on the American side, a drive and a desire that it's in their self-interest to strike a deal before we get back to the table in any meaningful way.
We'll hear from retired diplomat Jeremy Kingsman. Jeremy will be live with us at 8:50 to talk about the fall of the U.S. trade talks for the moment. WestJet flight attendants are wrapping up a week-long vote this afternoon on their new tentative deal struck with the airline.
The Canadian Union of Public Employees has said that the tentative agreement includes more than an 18% wage hike over 3 years, as well as new compensation for work done on the ground. The deal followed tough negotiations, particularly around boarding pay, that culminated in a one-day strike by some 4,400 cabin crew earlier this month. WestJet's flight schedule gradually ramped up after more than 900 flights were canceled at the peak of the summer travel period. John Kennedy, The Canadian Press.
On the BC wildfire front, we had more than 7,000 lightning strikes hit our province over a 24-hour period this weekend. That has had the wildfire count jump by about 60. We had 124 wildfires burning on Friday at this time. Now we're at 184. 64 of those out of control. There's been 63 new starts in the last 24 hours. About 30 fires burning here on Vancouver Island now, including 6 that are considered out of the control. They're all new, though, so hopefully crews will be able to get a handle on that soon. Not only is Canada in the crosshairs when it comes to trade wars, economic D-Day is what the Trump administration is calling a new set of sanctions against Iran. ABC News chief international correspondent Ian Pannell with the latest.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the goal is to, quote, sever every economic lifeline until Tehran stands alone. Now, Iran is warning that if the economic war continues, quote, not a single drop of oil will be exported through the Strait of Hormuz. Despite the rhetoric and the ongoing U.S. blockade on Iranian ports, we are now approaching 6 months since the U.S. and Israel launched their attacks on Iran, and there is no sign of a resolution.
And speaking of war, today is Independence Day in war-torn Ukraine. 35 years ago today, Ukraine's parliament proclaimed the country's independence. Now, 4.5 years into Moscow's full-scale invasion, a group of protesters here in Canada say they're in it for the long haul.
The protesters meet outside Russia's embassy in Ottawa every weekday to show support for Ukraine. They try to find colorful ways to remind people about the war, like holding IKEA umbrellas with the blue and yellow colors of Ukraine's flag. They gather to chide Russian embassy staff popping out during their lunch hour. Local retiree Karen Niven Wigston says Canadians need to remember everything Russia is doing in the war, like abducting Ukrainian children. She says her resolve only grows when she reads about atrocities widely attributed to Russia. Jason White, The Canadian Press.
And that's your CFAX News to 8:35. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. We're asking, have you traveled to the U.S. this summer? 10% say yes. 90% say no. You can vote now at cfax1070.com. Also on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best. Your news time is 8:36.
Thank you, Lisa. Hey, I didn't realize there was a power outage in Brentwood Bay at some point this morning.
Yeah.
Although a texter at 71010 saying the power outage that's been off since 5 a.m. in Brentwood Bay is back on.
Excellent.
Power's back. Very
I didn't
good.
know why, but obviously the crews got to it.
Yeah, excellent news for Brentwood Bay, and thank you for texting at 71010 and joining the conversation. Over to the sports. The BC Lions with another win. Man, they've been on a tear ever since sort of a slow start to the season. They had another win yesterday over the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The score for BC was 30-16, and the Lions scoring 14 unanswered points in just the third quarter yesterday. So now with that, BC Lions improved to a record of 5-5 in the West Division. In lacrosse, Victoria Shamrocks, we got the two teams in action. It's the end of the road for the Junior A Shamrocks at the Minto Cup. The Calgary Raiders took this thing in the end. It was the Minto Cup final was a best-of-3 series. And it went all the way to 3 games. Yesterday, the Calgary Raiders win it with a 9-6 victory in that Game 3 to take the series 2-1. But hey, congrats to the Junior A Shamrocks for going all the way. And then the WLA final, the Victoria Shamrocks are still trying to push this thing all the way, and they managed to keep themselves alive with a win yesterday, forcing a Game 6 with an 8-4 victory over the Coquitlam Adnacks. Last night at the Q Center, Coquitlam still needs to, or I should say, Coquitlam still leads the best-of-7 series 3-2. And for baseball, Toronto Blue Jays, they have the day off today before they open up a 3-game series tomorrow against the visiting Kansas City Royals. And then it's a 3-game series from the Seattle Mariners, who will be visiting Toronto starting on Friday. And a cool thing, the Toronto Tempo, the WNBA team, had a stop in Vancouver yesterday at the Rogers Centre. It was a loss for the Toronto Tempo, but still cool to see the women's basketball team in Vancouver. It was the Aces that powered past the Tempo 88-78 in the end yesterday. That's your CFAX Sports to 8:38. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. Good to hear the power's back on in Brentwood Bay. Other than that, the roads look totally clear. In fact, the volume delays on the Trans-Canada Highway from the usual West Shore commute have cleared up already, and we're looking like a very easygoing commute if you're still planning to head from the West Shore into Victoria. For the ferries, it's been a busy day. The 9 o'clock is full right now, 10 o'clock sailing, 85% full, and a lot of reservations ahead through the afternoon hours. In the weather forecast, let's dive into this. 15 degrees right now. It's going to eventually hit 24 as a high, although it's going to feel a little warmer with a humidex of 27. Clear skies, lows to 14 overnight. Tomorrow, it's going to be an interesting day because we start sunny. It's going to be the warmest day of the week, at least humidity-wise. A humidex of 29. That's the number. So it's going to be feeling close to 30 degrees in that humidity if you're away from the breezy Juan de Fuca Strait. And with all that humidity, eventually will come a chance of showers overnight Tuesday into Wednesday morning. Chance of showers. It starts to dry up as the day goes on. Wednesday, mix of sun and cloud. Temperatures around about 20 degrees. And then that's kind of the new weather pattern we're going to see. Just a mix of sun and cloud with temperatures into the low 20s for the rest of the weekend, probably into the weekend ahead as well. Right now, like I mentioned, 15 degrees is the temperature. On the markets, S&P TSX in Toronto still managing to stay up despite all of the trade turmoil. And recent comments from the U.S. president. We don't need Canada, says Donald Trump today in one of his social media posts, threatening an additional set of tariffs on us by January 1st. So that's going on in the news. But the S&P TSX still up 44 points to 36,665. The Dow is up 127 to 53,404. The Nasdaq is up the Nasdaq is down 163 to 26,017. Canadian dollar at 72.3 cents US.
In the kitchen, in the car, and at the office. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Take us with you. Listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Yeah, lots of reasons for shaky ground over the weekend.
You get the impression that the markets are taking a breath as well?
Well, it's just they're not collapsing.
Correct.
They're not shooting up. They're just kind of, they're up a little bit. But interesting. I was curious what the markets would do, and they seem to be taking it in stride
The
today.
Chicken Little approach, it's after a while, you just got to start breathing again.
Yeah.
We keep holding our collective breath as to what's next. It's like, okay, let's just get on with business.
Yeah. The other thing was shaking the ground wasn't trade talks. It was literally lightning and thunder over the weekend. Texter at 71010 says, Saturday night, my family drove right through the center of the storm in two different cars as we tried to get home. Shock and awe, white knuckling the whole way, an experience I will never forget. Luckily, the Malahat was clear. That would be quite the view on the Malahat.
Yeah, and weather. You know, if you had the wind and rain and everything going on.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Another texter at 71010 says, our boat was docked at, I believe it's meant to be Canoe Cove. I don't know if is Conover Cove a thing?
Don't know.
Anyways, we saw close to 3 hours of lightning over Salt Spring Island and up the coast. We saw more lightning in those 3 hours than we've ever seen in our whole 78 years, and it was absolutely amazing, says this texter at 71010.
That would be from the water.
And then this texter says...
It is Conover, by the way.
So there is a Conover Cove. Okay. I was wondering if they meant Canoe Cove.
No,
sometimes
you got it. Located at Wallace Island.
Interesting.
Right near Salt Spring.
I've learned something.
On Salt Spring.
So you never know if it's autocorrect or just something I don't know.
Or it's Monday.
Or it's Monday. This texter says, in a travel trailer at Yellow Point, beautiful over the ocean, rolling thunder and bolts that made the travel trailer shake.
Wow.
We've heard that story a few times from folks who, particularly folks up island, where the lightning was really coming down and the thunder was close enough to make it shake. It's quite the story.
Everybody's got a tale about the weather.
Thanks for joining the conversation at 71010. Another texter is just with looking for advice. I have a problem finding the news poll on the CFAX website. Have you guys moved it to a different section? No, here is where you find it. If you go to cfax1070.com and you scroll down a little bit, you'll see it there on the right-hand side, but you just have to scroll down a bit. That's the trick. We've done a refresh of the website. It was a couple months ago now, but the news poll used to be kind of right there at the front. You just have to scroll down a little further now. Still there. You still vote. We still want your opinion. Today asking if you've traveled to the U.S. this summer.
Yeah, I'd like to go, but I probably won't. Keep thinking about it.
No is the predominant response.
Yes, only 10% saying yes.
Yeah.
We're not asking if it was for business or pleasure, but...
Yeah, for whatever reason.
It's kind of difficult if you're involved in the politics at all to... And it's not about not spending money in the U.S. and helping out U.S. businesses. I know they're not at the heart of this, but it's still, as a Canadian, if you're patriotic, it's difficult to think about going stateside right now for just personal reasons.
Yeah, if you want to respond, that's where you find the CFAX News Poll. 8:45, time for the headlines. Here's Lisa.
On that note, U.S. President now says tariffs on the imports of cars, trucks, and auto parts from Canada will be increased 50%. He made that latest announcement this morning on a Truth Social post. After the countries failed to reach an agreement on the weekend, Trump says, quote, Canada has been ripping off the U.S. for years. Iran is warning of a harsh response to anticipated new U.S. sanctions. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson says Tehran's response would also target countries seized cooperating with the U.S. The prospect of expanded sanctions and Iran's threat to respond comes weeks after an impasse over the critical Strait of Hormuz and the oil that moves through it. Iranian attacks and threats have severely hampered shipping traffic through the waterway since the U.S. began waging war against it 6 months ago. WestJet tenants are wrapping up a week-long vote on a tentative contract that would deliver more than 18% in wage increases over 3 years. The deal also includes new compensation for work performed on the ground while they're on the tarmac on the plane. That was a key sticking point. If approved, workers will receive a 13% raise in October, followed by additional increases next year and the year after. And Burning Man Festival starts Sunday on the Salt Flats in Nevada. Hopefully you have your costume all together. Organizers say smart glasses are allowed at the 9-day-long event, but can't film anyone without their permission. Fans of the Art and Culture Festival every year say they express concern over the growing use of AI-enabled eyewear that looks like regular glasses but can film everything the wearer is viewing. This year, the glasses have been specifically mentioned in the festival's privacy rules. They're saying that everyone who may appear in a recorded frame must give permission. Don't know how that's going to go, but this year's Burning Man starts on Sunday, runs through September 7th. That is your news to 846.
Continuing to follow the story of the collapsing trade talks between Canada and the U.S. and what it's going to mean, but also just what was it like in that room? What are we learning about the way these two sides interacted and the way certain U.S. officials might have injected themselves right near the end of the whole thing before it all fell apart? Jeremy Kinsman is a retired diplomat here in Victoria that we love to talk to from time to time about these kind of things. He brings a really unique perspective as a guy who's been in these situations where you're dealing with two countries trying to work something out. How does he rank how this one went? Jeremy Kinsman joins us next.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island. 40 years of Fringe magic. Experience Victoria Fringe Festival, August 26th through September 6th. Feel the roar at Pacific FC. Get your soccer tickets today at cplsoccer.com. West Shore Swap Shop and Market is at Rally at Royal Bay every Sunday. Support Goldstream Food Bank with a $2 admission or a food donation. Get more event info at cfax1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. By the way, morning show brought to you by Bluebird Cabs. If you need a cab, download the new Bluebird Cabs app. It's at Bluebird Cabs LTD. You look for that full word. Bluebird Cabs with the letters LTD. They're proudly local, Canadian-owned and run since 1946. The morning commute is really clearing out. It's very easy going out there on the major roads. No crashes to report either. Busy at BC Ferries with a one-sail wait and a lot of reservations ahead. That's the Swartz Bay to Swanson route. For the weather, it is sunny today. Highs at 24. Right now, 15. But there's that humidity back in the forecast, so it's going to feel a little muggy if you're away from the windy Juan de Fuca Strait.
Ryan and Lisa. Mornings on CFAX 1070. Remember, you have us in the palm of your hand. For listeners on the go, listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Well, here was Prime Minister Mark Carney this weekend.
Our government understood before many that America would transform all of its commercial relationships, that it would put a series of tariffs on its closest allies and use economic integration as a weapon. We recognize that sometimes its signature was written in pencil.
One of the characterizations from the Prime Minister, that was back Saturday morning after we had learned the night before that the trade talks had collapsed for a number of reasons, including, as the Prime Minister went on to say, that there was some last-minute changes to the deal. We've been hearing stories of Howard Lutnick, the U.S. Commerce Secretary, kind of injecting himself at the last minute, maybe affecting things. A lot of coverage of what happened over those talks have been unfolding over the weekend. And, of course, more is coming out today. Let's get a perspective on this from somebody who has dealt with pretty high-level diplomacy, because he's a retired diplomat himself living in Victoria. Jeremy Kinsman is joining us on the line, a regular commentator on the show. Sir, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing okay, Ryan. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm also doing okay, but I did spend a lot of the weekend, like many Canadians, sort of refreshing my news browser and reading all of the stories to try to get a sense of what happened. And it was interesting to see the way some of these things unfolded. Like right out of the bat, when you heard from Greer, he's the U.S. guy kind of leading the negotiations. He came out and was like, the Canadians wouldn't accept our best offer. They walked away. Then you heard from Mark Carney afterwards with his statement saying, well, they tried to change a bunch of stuff at the end. I'm paraphrasing deeply here. And it was, something we had to just walk away from. So you had this messaging battle already with two different takes on what was going on. What a wild ride that was. What do you make of what we saw here?
I think you described it accurately, or Carney did. Howard Lutnick, whom I don't know, but I know people who know him. And then I guess the most generous thing I could say is that this is not a nice man, okay? And he's the guy who the other month said, Canada sucks. Well, he came in with a whole bunch of demands at the last minute. He is formally over the negotiator, Jameson Greer, but Jameson Greer had been doing the negotiations. There were real negotiations, and they were working professionals to professionals. I wouldn't credit the American side in this day and age with agreeing there should be a win-win kind of outcome, but they were at least listening to Canadians and dealing objectively with our points of view. When Lutnick came in at the last moment, he had signaled the day before he didn't like the deal. He came in and he came with a bunch of new demands. You hit one, is that Canada wouldn't have freedom to negotiate our own trade agreements with other countries. That is the whole kind of substance of Mark Carney's diversification project, and a whole lot of things to do with policies we've had for 50 years about Canadian content and culture and how it's affected by streaming, by Netflix and Amazon Prime, if they have obligations. And the Americans, much more extreme than I used to hear back in Reagan's day, said they didn't want to hear any of this crap, about culture. And it was frankly unpleasant. And now it goes on today, this, no, they did it, no, they did it. And Trump is, now saying he's going to slam the 50% tariffs on January 1st on all cars. One of the breakers, by the way, was there was a deal on cars to reduce the tariff from 25 to 15% under certain conditions. At the last minute when Lutnick came in, they removed trucks from that. So it applied only to so-called light vehicles. The light vehicles could be a Ford Pinto or whatever, but it wasn't going to be any of the F-Series or the Silverado, the trucks that are so popular, and that are being produced in Canada, the Silverados in Oshawa and F-Series in a proposed plant in Oakville by GM, by Ford, excuse me. This is somebody said this isn't a negotiation. This is a stick up, and it is their tactic, and it's what they're doing now, and they think this is what power is all about, and it's about dominance. You got to dominate. This is the art of the deal. But we're not in New York real estate right now. We're two states. And that seems to be lost on them.
Well, so and it seems like like if you're a Canadian watching this, it feels like you're being bullied by, like you said, some New York real estate developer rather than two countries having a diplomatic moment. That's certainly one of the takeaways I think a lot of Canadians are feeling, at least.
Yeah, I think so. But look, the point is, I mean, this kind of a shakedown, they're doing it left and right. Remember Zelensky in the Oval Office?
Yeah.
But but you don't have the cards. You know, frankly, it's kind of juvenile, but it's serious, and it affects. I think all told, if you count the aluminum and steel and industries and softwood lumber and everything else, you're talking about a couple of 100,000 people in Canada who go to work every day who are going to be worried. And I guess Carney's job is to keep them from worrying, to cover the costs, and to not to wait it out. I mean, look, Carney's retaliation tariffs, which 75% of Canadians support, according to Angus Reid, don't come in for 2 weeks. That's a window. If they want to de-escalate, there's a window. And in Trump's threat today, that's New Year's Day. I mean, that's a big window. I think there may be something there, but Americans don't like this. And you saw what various governors, Newsom and Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, have said, and even Mike Pence said a trade war with Canada is the last thing the United States needs right now. And I think even people just totally absorbed in in online betting and whatever they do, and don't think much about the news, are getting it that things are not good economically in the United States, and this is going to make them worse. So that's their business, but I think it's going to affect their heads.
Well, Jeremy Kinsman, he's a retired diplomat, weighing in on the trade situation between the U.S. and Canada. Always great to get your take, and I'm sure we'll be talking again soon because this isn't over. Much appreciated, sir.
Well, I'm here, Ryan, and so are you.
Yeah, that's one thing you can count on. We'll be here taking you through it all. We got to go for today. See you tomorrow.